edition, Ted.
We are on episode 577.
Wow,
that's 577 straight weekdays, Monday through Friday.
All right.
Over 2 years. No matter everything they've thrown at you, we've never missed a show. I just got to point that out.
There are so many things that have to be investigated in the next administration, and it has to be done by the rules, not the way they do it. I don't want to see any of our people, doing search warrants that aren't approved by a court. I'd like FBI agents to go back into suits rather than Gestapo outfits. I mean, I never remember ever once, and I did probably more FBI arrests than anybody. And I never remember I remember them walking around dressed up like soldiers with I arrested mafia guys without the machine guns, and they arrested Roger Stone with machine guns. They put leg irons on Peter Navarro. I didn't put leg irons on Fat Tony Salerno. I mean, what? They're Gestapo. The Biden regime became a dictatorship, including eliminating free speech and going after people, not just me, hundreds of people. Now, here's one investigation that maybe will be overlooked, but it shouldn't. I don't say it's the most important. Maybe. We now know what I've known for 4 or 5 years, because I knew the miserable pervert for 35 years. And he's demented, seriously demented. They knew it before he ran in 2020. So, of course, the press doesn't pay any attention to this. And I'm so glad that I got the hard drive and was able to put it out, for which they're trying to destroy me. Remember, the guy bringing the case for those women was Hunter Biden's law partner and a lawyer for the crooked company Burisma, organized crime company in Ukraine, that I uncovered singularly. You don't think they want to get me? So this goes back to 2019. That's a year before he ran. And this is in the hard drive. On the afternoon of January 2nd, 2019, Hunter Biden continued a text exchange with his psychiatrist, Keith Abloh, where they started discussing a potential presidential run from Hunter's father, Joe. Having discussed other Democratic hopefuls, Abloh declared that Joe was the only answer for the country. After Hunter joked about a reporter's previous declaration that Joe was nothing more than the empty vessel for the idea of others, Abloh responded with a quote of his own. I want you to hear this now. This is in the hard drive. You can see it in black and white. Any man who can triumph over dementia is a giant. This is in 2019. And as a doctor, think what he could do for our country. He texted, talking about himself in the third person and referencing the possibility that the older Biden had dementia, a claim that Abloh himself made in 2012. Remember, Abloh in 2012, after Biden finished the debate for vice president, said that he showed signs of dementia. I did not evaluate Joe Biden, but if someone said to me, we want you to do what's really required to know what happened there, you have to put dementia on the differential diagnosis, the then Fox News contributor declared, following what conservatives termed a bizarre appearance from Joe Biden at the vice presidential debate against Paul Ryan. Rather than disagreeing with Abloh, Hunter seemed to acknowledge that his father had dementia, saying that Abloh was such an asshole, but that the quote made him laugh out loud. Continuing to satirize himself and his previous public discussion, Abloh then added that perhaps he can help us remember all we intended to be as a people, since he can now remember his address. Hunter declared that Joe doesn't need to know where he lives because that's the only thing the Secret Service gets right. at least 75% of the time. And there are other discussions of the father being demented back in 2019. I want to remind you that in 2020, he said that he remembered watching, as a young boy, watching Roosevelt on television, reading the funny papers. There was no television when Roosevelt died. And Roosevelt never read the funny papers. It was Fiorello LaGuardia, the mayor of New York, and he did it on radio, not on television. But he remembers him on television doing. Before the 2020 election, he claimed that he graduated or he went to a black college. Not true. He never did. And then, of course, the most frightening of all was the little speech that he gave to a bunch of kids in which he talked about his experiences as a lifeguard. And do we have that, Ted? The one where he talked about enjoying the little children touching the hair on his legs.
Of course, that's from, when was that from?
2020.
When he was vice president?
No, that was when he was running in 2020.
Oh my goodness, I might have even, yeah. So this is a very, very famous clip from about that time. I want to see, this is it.
Yeah.
Blonde in the sun, and the I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun, and the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Now, if you had a chance to look at all of the photos in the Hunter Biden hard drive, or actually his computer, which was put in a hard drive, I remember the first person who analyzed it for me was a young woman, and she came to me, and I didn't know what was there. And when I took a look at it, I was embarrassed that I had given it to her because there was so much pornography in it. But her observation was, for an adult male, he seems to have a lot more children in these pictures than adult women, and many of them were in sort of sexualized poses, and two were just absolute child pornography, and they were his niece. We turned it over, Bernie Kerik and I, to the Delaware State Police. They had it. The FBI had it for a year and plus, never did anything to protect the child, even though that violates Delaware law. So when I read that the daughter said that Joe used to take showers with her, I said to myself, this is a family of perverts, and they can get away with anything. Who the heck ignores child pornography just because he's a senator or whatever the hell he is? I mean, this is a really bad guy. Not to mention the $50 million in bribes that he whacked up with his son. Remember, his son in December 25th, can't forget it, 2018, texts his daughter, Hunter's daughter, that for 30 years, I've paid all the expenses of the family, and I still have to give half of all of my income to Pop. Now, I don't know what you need to prove that there's evidence that he received money. That's called evidence, what I just mentioned to you. And in fact, it even has a description in the law. It's called an admission. And an admission is allowed in evidence as an exception to the hearsay rule. And judges often charge juries that an admission that's offered, without any prompting by law enforcement, is much more convincing than a confession because there's no pressure. Now, you could say he was exaggerating, but anybody could be, there'd never be evidence if you were to say, oh, he could be, I mean, Sammy the Bull could have been exaggerating, that he did 19 murders with Gotti. And of course, you know, they argue that to the jury, and then the jury decides it. But when they say there's no evidence that Joe Biden got money, there's actually the most powerful evidence we can have. And that is the testimony of the man who gave him the money. And what did Hunter Biden get the money for? He got the money to use his father's influence. And the worst part of it is, unlike most of our crooked politicians who take money left and right, they took money from our worst enemies. The vast majority of money comes from Red China. $31 million from Red China. No wonder he gave up an air base 400 miles from China. Do you know who occupies that air base now? You got it, China. Had to do something for the 31 million that he got, right? Good riddance. And stop all the silly stuff about, you know, poor Joe and poor America. That's the real problem. Hunter Biden's therapist said Joe Biden had dementia back in 2019. That's what this says here. So now let's go look at all the people that covered it up. What about the first stepmother? She didn't know he was demented. How about his daughter? She didn't know he was demented. How about the big drug addict? He didn't know that he was demented. Nancy Pelosi didn't know he was demented. His two press secretaries, the two liars in chief, didn't know he was demented. This is the president of the United States. You've got an obligation to protect our country. It didn't mean anything to them. That should be prosecuted because people should learn that it should never happen again. I mean, the man could destroy the world. Ronald Reagan used to say that the thing that frightened him the most about mutually assured destruction, that means that both, Russia and the United States could destroy the world and therefore neither one will. He said, well, that's fine, except if some insane person gets control of the buttons. And then the whole theory, poof, and the whole world goes. That's why in the nuclear age, you can't have a mentally deficient, cognitively impaired, that's such a nice way of saying it, right? People that don't have any brains anymore. I mean, the guy thought he was seeing dead people. He pointed out a congresswoman who he had just sent a condolence letter for her death in the audience. He walked off a plane in Cambodia thinking he was in Colombia, and he greeted the Cambodian president and congratulated him on winning the election in Colombia. Geez, Cambodians and Colombians don't look alike, pal. The point is, there are people that aided and abetted that, and they did a great, great disservice to the United States. This incompetent criminal president probably cost more lives than any president in peacetime in America. You look at the people in Afghanistan, right? He took out the soldiers before he took out the civilians. That's insane. I mean, a nitwit would figure out you got to keep the soldiers there to protect the civilians as they exit in a country surrounded by terrorists who want to kill them. Well, those people died, and they wouldn't have died if we had had a president with a brain. The war in Ukraine wouldn't have taken place. You know that because Putin invaded 3 times under 4 presidents. Bush, Obama, Biden, not under Trump. So had they not cheated and taken the 2020 election away from Trump, hundreds of thousands of people would be alive today that are dead. Oh, here he is walking off into the sunset. I see that one. Did people see that? Walking off, and Georgia Maloney goes and saves him. See how nice Italians are? Now, she's
And
a
of course,
conservative.
the fake news tried to make it as though Maloney was setting him up, right? Like she didn't have to go over there to get him.
Well,
But in reality,
he
she
might
was
have
doing-
he might have gone up in one of those balloons.
Yeah.
He didn't know where the hell he was.
Look, he put his glasses on. The sun,
No, he is.
glasses
I
on.
mean, it makes him happy. He's so happy. He sees that guy there. There he goes.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Joe. Bye, moron.
Look at him.
There you go.
What a class act by Prime Minister Maloney.
No,
Nobody else is going over. All these other world leaders, they let him over there. We don't.
the rest of the other ones, were all COVID people. They probably think they could catch it from him.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at him walk up. They see him do it, but look at them all look, but they don't.
They try to pretend it's not happening. What would have happened?
President, right?
We met her. We met her on Saturday night.
She came up and said hi to the mayor.
I was kind of annoyed she did that. I want to see what he was going to do.
Oh, let him keep going?
Yeah, what was he going to do? We're going to get him one of those. Yeah. I'd have put a parachute on him and just sent them off.
And the sunglasses. What the hell did he put? I guess maybe they are looking into the sun. Who knows?
Oh, I don't know. We got to keep. We don't want to play. We could play the one where he fell down at the Air Force Academy.
Yeah.
Imagine those cadets. The commander in chief is there. They're graduating, and the commander in chief falls down in front of them.
That was bad.
Or how about? Someone told me it happens more often than I realize it, but I don't remember ever seeing somebody falling down going up the steps.
Yeah, I have heard that does happen.
Do you remember? Did you ever see it?
What happened to President Ford? Did he fall up or down the stairs?
He fell. He used to bump his head more than fall. I remember him falling.
Okay.
He used to hit people on the head with golf balls. And
that's not easy to do.
I mean, it's not your fault if you hit somebody with a gun. You don't aim. If you can aim,
You're a bad golfer, maybe.
if you can aim for somebody's head and hit them with a golf ball, you're a very good golfer.
In a way, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Who the hell can hit somebody's head with a golf ball?
Right.
I guess Donald Trump could.
Yes.
But look at this guy. And they didn't know he didn't have a brain left.
Crazy, right?
He was close to demented when he was normal.
That's right. You've always told us that.
I told you a long time ago he was the dumbest man that I ever met. I mean, ever met, including family,
Never helpful to
people, defendants I put in jail. I don't remember anybody as big a jackass as him. But I'll tell you what, I didn't know he was a crook. I was shocked when I found out that he was a crook, and it was handed to me. Thank you. It was handed to me by the Ukrainians. I didn't go looking for it. They hate me because I brought it out. That's why they bring in that case with the guy who was Hunter Biden's law partner. But it was handed to me. Ukrainians came to me and said that Hillary, and Biden, and Obama were doing in Ukraine what they were accusing Trump falsely of doing in Russia. That the Ukrainians were colluding in the election, and that Hillary was developing a false charge against him in Ukraine, using Ukrainians to help her. And when I began investigating it, the undercover guy came and said, and of course you know about Joe Biden's big bribe. I said, of course I don't know about it. And then he played the tape, showed me the evidence, and produced 5 witnesses. And it was not just Joe Biden who got bribed. It's the president then of the Ukraine, Poroshenko, who got away with it, which Zelensky knows all about. So all these years now, we've been giving Zelensky, what, 200 billion? And he's got the goods on Biden. Zelensky can just lean over to Biden and say, all that stuff Giuliani has, and I got the rest of it. And he does. He's got tape recordings between Biden and Poroshenko, the president of Ukraine, in which they completely fixed the case against Hunter Biden's boss. The White House won't release them. 4 tape recordings in February of 2016. Hopefully Trump will release him right away. So Biden now is, it's almost spiteful. He's doing everything he can to hurt Trump and the United States. For example, he just closed off about 650 miles of offshore oil and gas possibilities with a provision that the next president can't change it. Now, I really do think that's unconstitutional and it isn't going to work, but who the heck knows? I mean, it's certainly going to hold things up. And exactly why he wants to do that, I don't know. He wants to do it because of global warming. So I want to show you global warming at the White House today. That's the if I'm going to show you. I mean, we really do have to worry about global warming. This is really a terrible situation. Ted is going to get that ready. Also, this carbon dioxide that keeps getting released into the atmosphere, really dangerous. Now, that's the White House today, which really you can see how how warm it is. There you go. Joe got up this morning, and he saw the snow, and he said he got a little concerned. And the first stepmother said, "Oh, we just put it there for fun. It really isn't cold out. It's actually freezing in Washington. It's going to be freezing for the next month. We're going to have a very cold winter, but we're having global warming because of carbon dioxide that's emitted that half the scientists don't believe has a damn thing to do with warming the atmosphere. Half of them think it's dangerous from the point of view of pollution, but not from the point of view of global warming. And the other half think if we don't have it, we're going to disappear because it provides us with the oxygen that we need in order to live and also for food to grow. So this whole global warming thing, which they changed into climate change, is a big con job. The mafia might have made it up. It made Kerry into a multi-millionaire. It made Gore into a multi-billionaire. And they sell all the credits. They make a fortune on a complete con job. And meanwhile, people are starving as a result of it. This money could have been spent on curing malaria. This money, which actually kills people. This could have been spent on hunger. There you go. There's global warming. Do we show them, Ted?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They've seen it.
It's actually quite a pretty picture of the White House. Too bad it's still occupied by the perverted family. Think there's any cocaine in there? Or all that white stuff around? That's another one. That really was a tough case for the Secret Service. Who the heck could have put the cocaine in the locker? Jeez, couldn't figure that one out. I don't know if you people aren't old enough to know about Charlie Chan, are you? Charlie Chan was a series in the 30s and 40s, and it was a Chinese detective, an American Chinese detective, and he would solve these crimes. And he always used to say, the person you have to pursue first is the person with the biggest motive. So now let's think about it for a moment. There are a lot of people in the White House. Who was the biggest drug addict in the White House? Because that'd be likely to be the one who has the cocaine. Oh, I don't know. Gosh, the Secret Service couldn't figure that one out. Because they've been covering up for the Bidens for years. The Secret Service showed up at the gun dealer and tried to take the records away so that gun crime would never be known about. The guy had the guts to say, go to hell, I'm not going to give them to you. And he gave them to ATF because he didn't trust the Secret Service. And now they're investigating the 2 assassination attempts, along with the FBI that tried to frame him for 5 years. I mean, I hope you don't think that they're really conducting an investigation. The first guy who shot and killed someone and almost killed Trump, he's the only guy in America, the only person in America who doesn't have some kind of a history of any kind. Like he was non-existent. I don't think he ever existed, that guy. We don't know anything about him. And the second one was clearly motivated by all of this Democrat demonization. But they don't want to talk about that or lay it out. Well, we're going to take a short break because Ted is going like this.
I mean, that's a universal sign. That's a universal sign for break.
Oh, it's like a wishbone. It looks like a wishbone.
Universal.
Oh,
Works
we have a live audience tonight,
We have
which makes it
lively
much
audience.
more a lively live audience. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with America's Mayor Live. Well, you can be sure they're lining up at the border right now, trying to get in. While the getting's good, I mean, Biden did something that I don't know. Well, no president ever did this. I wonder if a leader of a country ever did this. Completely opened his borders for 3 years. Anybody could come in who wanted to, and you basically wouldn't be checked. It's incomprehensible that he did it. We have, hard to say how many illegals we have. And the reason it's hard to say is you have the group that was stopped at the border, should have been incarcerated or sent back, but they were paroled to come back in 3 or 4 years. So they got a parole date like 2029. That's absurd. And then they got a ride to wherever they wanted to go. So that's one group. I think that amounts to about 8 or 9 million people. Okay. The second group are what are called the gotaways. The gotaways are the people that they almost get their hands on, but get away. But they have a record of them. It could be even a name. It could be an identification. It could just be that they got away and they have a very sketchy, but they have something. And that's about That all adds up to about 12 million people, with the ones that are recorded and the ones that are semi-recorded. Now, we don't know anything about the gotaways. And believe me, we weren't really vetting anybody who came in. The Chinese are asked 4 questions. I guess, what do you want for lunch? And who knows what they're asked? Are you a spy? They all answered no. I mean, it's ridiculous. 4 questions. And Biden took it down to 4 questions because they were being delayed in their illegal entry into America. So we got it down to 4 questions. So we got 12 million people for sure. And I would say if we know something about 2 million of them, that's a lot. Now, here's the group they never talk about, and it's the most dangerous group. It's the people you never see. So in between all those border checkpoints is a lot of Texas and a lot of New Mexico and a lot of Arizona and a little bit of California. And on the other side of the border are some of the most sophisticated and most dangerous organized crime groups in history. And you probably don't know that, the Mexican cartels, which over the last 20 years have become an enormously powerful and very, very well-funded organized crime group. For 20 years, they've been working with the Islamic terrorists. For 20 years, they've been working with China, making a fortune on drugs, particularly fentanyl. And for the last 20 years, they've developed the biggest human trafficking organization in history. America does more human trafficking, particularly of children, than any country on earth. Are you proud of that? That's horrible. And those cartels control the border. They are like, think of them as well-armed toll booths. You want to come over, we're not going to know if you came over, they are. So now if you're a Chinese drug dealer moving fentanyl in, and you want to get your fentanyl across the border, which, by the way, they do in partnership with the cartels, they're not going to bring it over at one of those checkpoints. I mean, it's the jerks who do that. The high-quality people, the high-value people come over where you don't get to see them, which is most of the border. So while they keep us busy with 5,000 people coming in at El Paso, 20 miles from El Paso, 200 of them can be coming in with fentanyl, with children, with women, with arms. They can be spies, and they can be from ISIS and the other terrorist groups who have a 20-year relationship with the Mexican cartels. But this has been a bonanza for them. I mean, we did a pretty good job even under Obama. And then when Trump got criticized so much for focusing on, he wasn't letting any Muslims in. But what he did, and I know it really well because I helped to develop this program, he focused on the countries that had the largest number of terrorists. And all he did was do much more extensive vetting for them. So if somebody's coming in from Afghanistan, you're going to do a lot more vetting than you are if somebody's coming in from England, unless the person coming in raises some suspicion. And that was a good program. It kept a lot of terrorists out of the United States. And by the way, it was upheld by the Supreme Court. There was nothing unconstitutional about it after all the craziness over how he's being so unfair to the Muslims. And it didn't apply just to Muslims. It applied to any group that was a terrorist group. Now, it's unfortunate that most of them are Muslim. But I didn't create that situation. I didn't create the situation that most of all the mafia was Italian. It embarrassed me, but I didn't create it. What am I going to do? Look for mafia members among Chinese? I would if I was stupid. So Biden did away with all that. So there were calculations that had been done before all of this by Marxist universities like MIT and Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania. And basically the calculation was that for every, that the unknown was anywhere from 50 to 200% of the number of knowns. And that varied very much by how active that year was. So the more that came in that we had to deal with and process, you could assume more would come in unknown because they were using up the people that we would use to stop people at the border. So when you consider that we had months with 100,000 people that came in, 200,000, we had a 1 year under Biden with 3.5 million illegals that we recorded. The highest number before, I don't think had even been a million. 100 had even been a million. I think the highest number was like 700,000 or 800,000. He got to 3.5 million in 1 year. Well, they had no time for anything else, which is a field day for the high value, big money entries, the ones that China is going to pay you a fortune to bring in, or the ones that ISIS is going to pay you a fortune to bring in. So we don't know how many of those people are here, but let's take the 50% analysis, right? That's another 6 million people. And we don't know who the hell they are, and we don't know where the hell they are. And that's what got Christopher Wray, who could be one of the biggest scoundrels in history, that's what got him to eventually, at the beginning of last year, go in front of Congress and protect his backside and say there are more terrorists in the United States now than ever before, and we don't know where they are. Now, that's a hell of a thing for the FBI director to say. If he doesn't know where they are, how do I know where they are? And what the hell was he doing when they were coming in? He was sucking Obama's you-know-what and making sure that all of his crimes were covered up. He was making sure that we never, that the hard drive never got out, which he held and concealed for 1.5 years. Now, that's a guy that's got to be prosecuted. You can't let him get away with doing that. He sat on that hard drive when Biden falsely claimed during a presidential debate that it was Russian disinformation. 20% of the electorate said if they knew about it, they wouldn't have voted for him. So even before you get to the cheating on the voting, the fraud during the election concerning information ended up in a dishonest election. So the first thing that has to be done is we have got to go back to border enforcement. So I want you to take a look at let's just show them. This is a little group of 4. So these people belong to a gang that we didn't even know about 4 years ago, and it might be now one of the larger organized crime groups in America. It's known as Tren de Aragua, TDA. They began in the prisons in Venezuela and Los Angeles. And the 4 you see there were just arrested on New Year's Day. One of them is a high level, one of them, Segundo Ocando, the one on the left, in the left corner there with the little stars on. Those are like general. So he's Segundo Ocando Mejia, 39 years old, incalculable number of murders that he's a high-ranking member of TDA. And you know who caught him coming in? The Texas police, not the federal border patrol, because they're not allowed to do that. If we're up to Biden, even now with his supposedly focus, at least 4 would get in, and you can be sure within the next 3 months they'd kill, rape somebody. The guy on the left, I think, probably kills a person a month. This group now has their 2 big places in New York, particularly in the Bronx, and Aurora, Colorado. And they're in Aurora, Colorado, because the nitwit, crazy governor of Colorado and the mayor of Denver are like Adams in New York, a super sanctuary city. In fact, Denver, Colorado has more illegals per capita than New York. So the illegals in Denver spread out because they mostly were Tren de Aragua, and they took over a town called Aurora. And when Trump and Vance pointed this out, they were attacked, and the governor said that there's no problem there, and the mayor said there's no problem there. And now there probably have been 100 arrests of them, and they control the town. And 4 counties in Colorado are suing the governor for the damage that he's done to them. Now, the governor is a very, very skilled dancer. So we're going to show you him. We should have shown this for Christmas as part of our Christmas program. But he's Governor Feliz Navidad. And can we give him a chance to, because he's going to be on Dancing with the Stars after he's governor.
Where is this guy really? Or that was,
Yeah, he can be on Dancing with the Stars
oh my goodness.
because we feature him so much. We've made him into a star.
Yeah, we want.
Yeah.
You guys think this guy right here?
No, I mean, would this guy frighten you if you were Tren de Aragua? He's the reason why these people are getting killed in Denver and in Aurora. And he convinced the media that Aurora was fine, that Trump was making it up. And
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad.
how could the people of Colorado voted for that? I mean, he's a nitwit. A complete idiot. And you know, by the way, the Democratic Party considers him one of their real stars of the future. Probably there isn't a governor of Colorado who's got more people murdered than him. But I guess that's now a sign of success.
Right.
So these 4, thanks to Governor Abbott, are now being held by the Texas law enforcement. Now, in a few days, something unusual is going to happen that hasn't happened in 4 years. The Texas law enforcement will be working with the federal government and will not be interfered with by the federal government in their attempt to stop people from coming in. Yeah. The Border Patrol had turned into like the ushers at Radio City Music Hall. If you came in illegally, they'd find your seat. They wouldn't arrest you. They wouldn't put you in a detention center. They wouldn't even ask if you were, a multiple murderer. And that's why so many people have been killed. It's tragic, but that's what's been going on. And that's what President Trump has to stop. And he's made very, very good choices. But I have to say, none better than Tom Homan, who is going to be running that operation. You don't want to come up against Tom. The mayor of Denver said he would stand at the city gates and stop the Border Patrol from coming in and get arrested. And Tom, you should have seen how Tom Homan's eyes lit up. He said, well, fine, I'll arrest him. Now, first of all, Denver doesn't have city gates, so I don't know where he's going to stand. It doesn't have city gates, jerk. Ted.
Who's that?
The mayor. I hope Feliz Navidad is with him. He actually said at one point that he'd be with him.
Right.
But I don't know. He probably doesn't want to. Yeah, Tom's got that look too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with Tom Homan. I'm telling you. He'll change it in a couple of days.
We've had him on.
No, we've had him on.
We've come on a few times. We got to get him on here. Maybe before January 20th, but if not, let's see where he is.
Just put him on, and then we'll play it over and over again and scare the hell out of people.
Yeah, Let's catch him. Let's see what he's got.
in my nation is to save lives.
Come up, look at him. Look
So
at him.
for
There
you
you
to
go,
sit there
Tom.
and
You don't even know
insult
what
my
he's saying,
integrity
and you know you're
and my
you're
love
scared.
of my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed.
thing
And
is
you're the
sick.
member of
We agree
Congress.
on that.
Fix it.
We agree on
You
that,
have
but I
failed it. You have-
disagree.
And he
but I
doesn't have
also
to be
disagree
confirmed.
with
They
your
can't stop him.
definition of
Immigrants
They
are
can't
calling
stop
the
him.
government
He'll be there January
Look,
21st.
you want to know why there's
Probably on
50,000
the
people in
20th.
detention? You want to know why we have 1 million
Ted and I
entries
had
in
the
United States? You wanna know
opportunity
I have
as
these
we were
issues? 'Cause you have
traveling
failed to
around in
secure
the
the
last
border
couple of
against
months to talk to sheriffs all over the country. And they are so excited. The Sheriff's Association is going to work with him. So he will have not only the Border Patrol and ICE, but he'll have the sheriffs all over the country working with him to pick up the illegals, both the ones that are coming in now and the ones that we have to deport. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be tough, but it's in about the best hands that it could possibly be in.
between the
Oh, I think
Republicans and the
I
Democrats with the
I
ranking
recognize
member.
her. She's
We
like
increased the
anti-American,
time
right?
of
He's the
one
worst.
Yeah.
witness
How is
at
this
one,
person in
member
Congress?
of Congress who was
So I have to
interrupted by
raise a
protest. That
question,
is
and I
done
probably
with
get myself in deep trouble here. But what's wrong with the Pope? He appointed as the Archbishop of the District of Columbia, Cardinal Robert McElroy, who is a critic of Donald Trump. I mean, Trump becomes president. He appoints as the Archbishop somebody. I mean, how many archbishops in America, get involved in criticizing the president? I can't imagine too many. So you pick the guy who is a critic of Donald Trump. Here are some of his quotes. I pray that President Trump's administration and that all those state and local legislators and government across the whole of the country will work together to make our nation truly better. It is a daimonic mystery of the human soul why so many men and women have a profound and visceral animus toward members of the LGBT community. I don't know who they are. And of course, he has denounced Trump and people in his administration, including J.D. Vance, for opposing illegal alien migration. The pontiff is very close to him. He also feels that he's very, very close to Biden, who's one hell of a Catholic Pope. And of course, he announced during the election, interfering in it, that America had to choose the lesser evil of the two candidates between Harris and Trump. Now, did anybody tell him that the real leader of the religion is not him, it's Jesus Christ? Does he remember Jesus saying, render to Caesar that which is Caesar's and to God that which is God? So why the hell doesn't he get the hell out of politics? And I'm allowed to say that, even though I'm a Catholic. He only has authority over me on matters of faith and morals when he speaks ex cathedra, from the seat. And when he does this kind of crap, he's not doing that. Now, this is the guy that works with Red China to appoint bishops in China. What the hell is that all about? We get the communists to consult with us? I don't know. Maybe he should go read about Our Lady of Fatima, who came to warn us about the dangers of communism, Pope. I don't know where this guy came up. No, yes, I do. This is what liberation theology did to us in South America. And I am really, really embarrassed because the guy is a first generation Argentinian and his family comes from Italy. I don't understand it. He really doesn't like our country. He does not like America. America probably does more to support his church than any country on earth. Why doesn't he retire the way Benjamin did?
The way
Benedict, Benedict did.
Benedict.
Yeah,
He
Benedict.
retired. I didn't know that was a thing.
Is he
He
still
retired
retired?
as
But
Pope.
that was like a decade ago, right?
That is amazing. That was a decade ago, and then we
And
got.
he's still alive, right?
Is he? I mean, right? We would know if he
Well,
was.
no, if he died, he didn't
That's a big
remember.
deal, yeah.
There'd be a big funeral, and
Pope Benedict, former head of the Catholic Church. They don't even want to say former pope. He resigned. Wow. February of 2013, 12 years ago.
of course, I don't think, but I'm not sure this any pope had ever resigned, and I don't know that you can resign.
Such history, right? This goes back thousands of years.
But I'm not sure you can resign. When Jesus made Peter the rock on which he was going to build his church,
I bet
he
you
didn't say,
There's been some resignation.
and you have resignation rights and a pension.
Pope
Peter never got a pension.
Oh,
The only way Peter
they do that now?
the only
These cardinals get pensions?
Of course they do. The only way Peter got out of being pope was they crucified him upside down.
So we've had a few. I mean, we won't go through all of them. Oh, well, we will. There's 6 popes that have resigned from the Catholic Church.
Oh, gee, I didn't know that.
Pope Pontian resigned in 235 to allow for the election of a new pope after being exiled and condemned to work in the salt mines. Pope Benedict the 4th, I believe this is what, the 9th, I and then an X. Is that 9?
Yeah.
It's 9. Sorry, not. Resigned in 1045 after selling the papacy to his godfather, Gregory the 6th.
His godfather?
I'd never heard of that. Pope Celestine the 5th resigned in 1294 after 5 months in office, overwhelmed by the demands of the position. That's an official reason.
What a flake he was.
And then Pope Gregory the 12th resigned in 1415 to help end what is known as the Great Western Schism.
I think we had 2 popes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Dual
that's when we had 2 popes.
So Pope Gregory blinked first. Pope Gregory the 12th. Pope Silverius, he was deposed. He was deposed in 537 after being kidnapped by the Byzantine Empress Theodora, and that would be my name if I were female. Theodora.
She kidnapped him, and they deposed.
Deposed in 537. That's different than resignation. We'll have to dig into that. And then Pope John the 18th.
Yeah.
He resigned in 1009. No reason given.
So there hadn't been one in 1,000 years.
That's what. Yeah. That's a good, very, very good. Yeah. Wow. And that might as well be a pope.
So how sick could he have been? He's still alive.
He's 12 years later. He's still
He
here.
reminds me of Joe Bonanno.
What about Joe Bonanno?
Joe Bonanno.
Tell us about Joe.
Joe Bonanno claimed for 25 years that he had a heart condition that would kill him if he ever went to court. And he got out of about 3 cases as a result of that. I didn't buy it, so I had a hearing in front of Judge Owen in Tucson, Arizona. And I brought my own doctor with me, Dr. Weld. And Dr. Weld testified that he had a stronger heart than anybody in a courtroom. And we found notes from Joe to his doctor, telling his doctor what to say. So Judge Owen, who was an honest judge, unlike some that we have now, held him in contempt and put him in jail. For the first time in like 20 years, they put him in jail.
Wow.
And myself and my associates, once it happened, and they took him off on an airplane to take him to the prison in Kentucky from California, we were afraid that, my God, he could have a heart attack. Anybody could have a heart attack, and boy, we would be ruined if that happened. You know, he lived another 14 years. After that, he lived 14 years. He never had a heart condition. It was just completely made up to stay out of, and
it worked.
The stupid federal authorities just went along with it, or maybe he paid off. I don't know. It's I mean, it's amazing.
It is. That is something else, Mayor.
But he never had a heart condition. He just faked it. He just faked it. Well, for all that time. So we're gonna. I want to show you this. These 2 very, very good-looking gentlemen here, because Joe is making sure right up to the end he can do as much damage to this country as possible. These 2 here, Moaz Hamza Ahmed Al-Alwi and Sula Abdul Anam, Sharabi, yes, were bin Laden bodyguards. And they were at Guantanamo. Well, they were at Guantanamo. Joe Biden let them out. Along with how many others? About 12 of these people who work with Al-Qaeda. What the heck? You know, they should have another opportunity to kill Americans. Right? Critically fair.
Well, bodyguards.
What the hell is wrong with Biden? Aside from being demented. So somebody around him made that decision, probably not him.
That's the
So
concern.
who is that person? Who's the person that lets people like this out of prison?
Someone in the audience says
Somebody said
Obama.
Barack Obama. And
He's definitely a part of
Barack
it.
Obama definitely has a soft spot for Islamic terrorists because he would never let us use the term Islamic terrorist,
Yeah,
which was outrageous because I don't know how you defeat your enemy if you can't name him.
it's absurd.
How would we have defeated the Nazis if we couldn't say Nazi and identify them? I mean, people would walk in and shoot, 5 people in a recruiting station yelling Allah Akbar, and Biden would scratch his head and say, well, we can't tell what kind of a crime this is. I mean, the guy is kind of telling you, I'm doing it for Allah. How about the guy on New Year's Day? If Obama was around, he would say, well, you can't say that was ISIS inspired or Islamic extremism, even though the guy left in his trailer a copy of the Quran with a red marking on the passage, I think it's 9111, that says from the murder of Muhammad that if you slay or are slain in the effort to spread their religion, you will be rewarded in paradise. He pointed right to it. So now I got to figure out why he's doing this. I mean, it's a big mystery. I mean, this does not take Sherlock Holmes to figure this out.
It's all about perpetuating this this sort of activity, and it's all about power for them, right? It's not about protecting the American people. It's about the quickest path to power, and they've made the calculation that they not only turn a blind eye, but they're almost encouraging this sort of activity by not allowing us to talk about it.
The people we've let out of Guantanamo, including Bush, who did this, have come back and killed Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck?
It's all about power. Again, it's not about the American people. It's about how can we shame Americans, guilt trip them.
In the case of Republicans who do it, it's because they don't have the guts to stand up to the media.
That's right. Yep, that's right. It's the media has been able to shame us.
They don't want
from
the
telling the
Washington
truth.
Post to make it sound like
That's exactly right.
To make it sound like Donald Trump.
Yeah. But for the media, right? Let's go beyond that. For the media, it's all about not allowing us to talk about these things because they want to perpetuate this sort of division, and it keeps them in power. It's not about protecting the American people. It's not about looking out for the American people.
So it's 11 that were released.
That's disgusting.
11 terrorists were released, and they were sent to Oman. I don't even know why Oman took them. Oman happens to be probably the nicest and best country, Islamic country. I mean, they are one of the few, if the only one, who's actually had a Jewish ambassador to the United Nations. At least as of about 5 years ago, unless it's changed, they're also the only one that allows Catholic churches, Protestant churches, and synagogues to put out markings. So in Dubai, I think I'm right about this. In Dubai, you can have a synagogue or a church. Yes, of course you can have a synagogue. I went to one. So you can have a synagogue, but you can't mark it as a synagogue or a church. In other words, you can't put out a cross or a Star of David. But they do allow it. Whereas in some other, like in Saudi Arabia, you can't. In Oman, they allow you and have for time immemorial, because they're very, very different kind of tolerant people. They've allowed that to go on, and they actually have Jewish members of their government. they also have Iran coming in every month and killing their police every month. And of course, we can thank Jimmy Carter for that. And I'm sorry to say this, you know, at the time that he's being eulogized, but it's too important to fake it. This guy was not a good president, and he wasn't a good ex-president. He's an anti-Semite. Hated Israel. Hated Israel. I mean, Ronald Reagan got elected by a landslide because he got more of the Jewish vote than Donald Trump did. And he got it because they couldn't stand Jimmy Carter, because he was anti-Israel. He's the one who started the two-state solution, which has consigned us to decades of not being able to solve the problem. How are you going to solve the problem in the Middle East if you say to Israel, you got to accept a country that wants to destroy you? You got to carve out your land and give it to a group of people who are dedicated to eliminating you. Not just eliminating you, eliminating all the Jewish people. Oh, and then we come next. And we want to create a country of terrorists? It never made any sense. And it started with the peanut farmer. Also, we can thank him for the reign of terror in Iran. If the guy had half a brain, he would have kept the Shah. We had the military power to do it, and we certainly were unrivaled at that time in the Middle East. Nobody could have said no if we moved in Marines and said, "That's it, out." No religious theocracy. Yeah, but can you imagine? Can you imagine how many lives would have been saved if we did that? Imagine how many young American boys would have been able to live out an entire life if they hadn't been killed by Soleimani in Iran. I mean, they probably have murdered more Americans in the last 30 years, I would think, than anyone. Has to be. I mean, in the war in Iraq, they were doing most of the killing, not the Iraqis. They wouldn't have existed if we had a real president and not Jimmy Carter. If Ronald Reagan had been in office then, they would have been turned out in a day or two or three. They may not even have tried. Remember, they released the hostages while he was being sworn in as president. And they did no advance during his presidency. And that reverted somewhat under Bush because Baker was also anti-Semitic and anti-Israel, too corrupted by the oil industry. And then, of course, Clinton suckered completely by Arafat. So it's been one after the other. Do you know that they're predicting snow for northern Florida?
I did not know that. Hopefully that impacts the Tampa Bay.
Global warming, yes.
Global warming.
Global warming in northern Florida.
Is that Jacksonville or is that the Panhandle?
It starts at about Daytona Beach.
That's north of us on the East Coast.
And on the West Coast, it starts at Sarasota, and then it goes up to the Georgia border.
That could impact Tampa Bay. They have a playoff game on Sunday.
So how do you feel about that, Ted? You have a dog in that fight?
Well, we'll see.
Are you betting on someone? I mean, I don't.
No, I actually stepped back from betting since being with the mayor.
Because I'm against it.
Who's ever a big better?
I'm morally opposed to it.
The mayor really is. And he kind of, look, I probably saved a few bucks. Again, I never spent big money. $10 on the game.
I think it's stupid.
I love betting on NFL games because in a way, you know, you like to win.
I can't stand betting.
It is hard to do, though. It is hard.
Because of the point spread.
Yeah.
I can't stand, like, my team wins, but I don't win because they didn't win by 7 points. I don't like that. I think that's stupid.
I don't bet on my own team. You're right.
I never bet on the Giants. I told you the story about my uncle, right?
Tell me again. Well, tell the audience.
My uncle, Rudy, same as me, right, was a New York City police officer for 27 years and a Navy hero in the Second World War, and my hero. And he was in terrific condition for an 85, 86-year-old man, and he fell down the steps and broke his back. Otherwise, he probably would have lived to 95 like my mother did. And he was in the hospital during the Giants' last Super Bowl win against the Patriots. And he went into the hospital about 2 weeks before Christmas. And unbeknownst to me, my uncle bet on every Giant game. And my cousins offered to help him make his bets, but he didn't trust them. I don't know why. They used to all bet together. So he would give me the money and he would tell me to go bet it. Now, I had no idea how you do that. I never bet. I mean, I was a prosecutor from the time I was 2 years old. And I had no idea how you bet. And I was going to go ask one of my cousins, to do it. And then I decided, well, I've never done this illegal betting before. Why would I do it now? So, maybe the Giants won't make a spread. And if they do, I'll pay them. It wasn't that much money. Well, they made the spread in 6 games in a row, and I lost. I had to give them a fortune. And I kept pretending that I was betting it. And I would give them the money. And I was starting to think about rooting against the Giants. But I couldn't stand that spread thing. It just drives me nuts. Basketball too, right? Well, I want people to see what is happening in my city because have you seen this dog?
Let's take a break soon.
You want to see an interesting dog?
Take a break too.
I'm being told I have to take a break.
We love this. Is
you think I'm in
this is
charge?
Vinny.
If it isn't Dr. Maria, it's Ted, and they tell me what to do all the time.
Oh, come on, but we got to show this dog.
That's a Trump dog.
How about that tie on that dog?
A lot of people think it's like a stuffed animal. It's not. It's a real dog.
That's Vinny. Oh, that's Vinny. We love Vinny.
Vinny the dog. Look at him. Hey, Vinny. Don't you love him?
So maybe we'll take a quick break and hear from some of our lively audience members.
We have to do a little there. That's the parts of that's the parts that are
so take a look. If you live in the great state of Florida, you'll want to look at this map.
I honestly don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be very cold though, which is good enough to prove that global warming is really climate change. Now, I believe in climate change. I don't want you to think I don't, because spring, right? Summer, fall, and winter. I don't know what the big deal is. We have climate change. Hopefully, all that nonsense is going to be over very, very shortly. We'll be right back after these messages of great importance. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with America's Mayor Live and back with a world traveler. Pauline, who has been on many times, as you know, has been missing for almost a month.
Yeah, it's been a month.
And we've watched her. We've watched her on Instagram, largely, right? With all those pictures, beautiful pictures. And recently, you did some religious quotations that I found very beautiful.
Thank you.
I have to tell you, going through a rather difficult time, some of them were very helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I'm so happy you saw the same thing I saw in them.
Yeah,
And
it was very helpful.
It's a joy to share it. I feel like if I could find inspiration in it, other people can too. The trip was really lovely. We started out in New York, and then we flew to London, then from London to Copenhagen. We were there 5 days before Christmas. We saw the mermaid. We went to
The Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
Oh man, I love the Little Mermaid.
it was lovely. We went to national art galleries and museums in every country. So after Copenhagen, we went to Malmo, and then from there we went to Hamburg, Germany, and we spent Christmas in Germany. It was very lovely.
Were you there when the attack took place?
Oh, so I went to Germany. The attack took place the day before I went to Germany, so we were a bit hesitant. I traveled with my friend Ingrid. She's in Vanderbilt Law. You met her. So we were confident. I mean, being from New York, it's relatively easy
Right.
to get around.
Right.
But yeah, Germany was lovely. We actually went to a bunker in St. Pauli where like all the Nazis would go when it was crumbling. So it was actually incredible to see, and you felt so much from it. It's like when you're reading a history book in school, you felt that things happened there. I'd say Germany, there was a darker energy there, but it was beautiful to see an experience like a midnight mass in German where they sing Silent Night and all the beautiful Christmas markets. It's a shame that it's such a target.
So was it a Catholic or a Lutheran service?
I think it was Protestant.
Yeah, a Lutheran service.
But
they're very close. You know, the Lutheran Church in Germany is much closer to Catholicism than the Lutheran Church in other parts of the world. They're much more, Romanized, I guess you would say.
It was super similar to a Catholic midnight mass. But yeah, the Christmas markets were lovely. That was the whole objective of the trip, and we probably went to about 50. So after Germany,
They weren't concerned after the attack was an attack on a Christmas.
Yeah, so I mean, we always had our eyes up behind our head too. We went to the relatively smaller markets. They were also lovely. Like the mulled wine and all that stuff. It was a great experience. It's like when you read a childhood book, you're in it. Highly recommend. And then
Germany is the country that probably preserved Christmas more than most others.
Yeah, it's super traditional. It was a very traditional Christmas, to say the least. But yeah, the bunker was such an interesting experience in St. Pauli. There was so much history about it. I was aside from that, I saw like a Monet in every country. So then we went to every art gallery.
Monet was following you around?
Yeah, I loved it. He's one of my favorite painters. And then after Germany, we went to Dublin. So it was more of a fun city to be in.
So where were you on New Year's?
New Year's, I was in Scotland. I was in.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
What's New Year's like in Scotland?
Well,
how do they?
So Normally it's very fun, but it was very windy there, so they had to cancel their fireworks show. But it was another great place to be, another place that's very traditional.
Where were you in Scotland?
Edinburgh.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
capital.
Yeah, it was very nice. And then from there we took a plane, we went over the Swiss Alps and we went to Milan. So
Milano, wonderful,
yeah,
wonderful.
it was I felt at home in Italy because my dad is from there. It was great. It was familiar footsteps. But it's funny, out of all the countries I went to, it's everybody would talk to me in their language. I was honored.
And did you understand it, or
Italian, yes. German, yes. A little bit. I couldn't really speak back though.
they couldn't speak back in German?
No, but luckily everywhere we went, everybody mainly spoke English.
You use one of those. I was talking to someone who has one of those things where it translates contemporaneously.
Oh, really? Like handheld?
Yeah, like you put it, like we would put it in between us, and we would talk, and I would say, "How was your trip, Pauline?"
that's
And I would put it in Italian, and then back. I don't know how they work. I'm trying to find.
I think I've seen an ad where they're making that with glasses
Mhm.
or something where you can see, or like lenses, contact lenses, so you can see what they're saying, and it translates it.
Migrants. No, I'm not kidding.
Really?
Pardon me?
Which one are we here?
So actually, when a lot of the migrants were coming to town, some of the cities would actually subsidize. They would give them the phone, and the phone would come with the software where they could.
So they have it, and I don't.
That is my
The
understanding.
illegal migrants have it, and I don't. And I probably Judge Lyman won't allow me to get one. He'll take it from me, so I can give it to those women who got $148 million judgment against me. I think it's the only $148 million judgment in the history of Georgia, but it must have been $148 million worth of damage, don't you think?
So I missed. Did we already go over the European vacation?
Much, yeah. It was
I missed.
So we're not going to go over it again.
Okay, so I'll have to watch
Because
that
you
again.
missed it.
Just
Yeah.
because I missed it.
I'll tell you about it.
But I do have a question about it. How did Trump ever come up in your travels? How is he perceived? Maybe from any foreign news that you were able to watch. What was your observations on that?
Between the States and what I observed in Europe is that the States people are way more friendly, way more helpful. Like for example, the airports, compare like JFK is like a dream compared to some airports in Europe.
Yeah, record that.
Yeah.
Never heard that before.
No, it's true.
JFK is like a dream.
It's true.
The airport.
We had a connecting flight. It was snowing in Scotland and we were flying back to Copenhagen and the snow kind of delayed it. We had missed it. So we bought new tickets, whatever. But nobody would help us. Like we were scrambling on phone. But like in yeah. And we were stuck in Copenhagen for an extra day. And luckily
Because you were Americans, or was it just in general they were like that?
ethic in Europe is just it's not to an American standard, I'd say.
Oh, it's general. It's not just, it isn't discrimination against Americans.
Mediocre service in
Yeah,
Europe, I'd say. I'm nothing against Europe.
How do they feel about Americans?
Probably that they're in a bit of a rush, but that's very efficient in an airport. Like that's why JFK I say is so much better.
Oh, you mean they think we're in a rush?
Most likely.
Yeah, because we want to get things done
Yeah.
within this century.
I agree. But that's why I kind of loved the trip because it made me take a step back and move at a nice pace for life.
Right.
So I like the balance between both.
Mhm.
But I definitely think the States is way more efficient in most things.
That's a change in Germany.
Yeah.
I mean, Germany was a decade ago and more extraordinarily efficient and very different than other European countries.
Yeah.
And it's become, not quite as lazy as Greece, but pretty close.
Another thing, since you mentioned the things I've been sharing about God and stuff, I'd say Ireland was the most God oriented. Like when you get off in the airport, it's like a scripture in it, and then walking through
It's funny because the government of Ireland has become very anti-religion.
Yeah, we went to see the original St. Patrick's.
Mhm.
That was really cool. Considering like being from New York, to see the original one is quite special.
I bet.
Yeah, and walking on the street, we didn't go out much, but we did do a pub walk in Dublin. And then you're walking on the street and you see a sticker that says "God is love," And I think that's really special. And I'm happy that you could find, uplifting and positivity in the
Yeah.
quotes that I've shared, because it's true. Like God and Jesus, they really renew the mind and give you a great
Did
outlook.
they ask you a lot of questions about America?
Not so much.
That's unusual.
Customs was really easy everywhere I
Pardon me?
went. Customs was really easy everywhere I went. It's funny, when we were in Dublin, my friend Ingrid, we pretended to have London, British accents. So we put a little bit of a twist on it because we didn't want the whole American stereotype. But it's not bad because, like, when you say you're from New York, it's not. People are like, "Oh, that's so cool."
You go there, and I bet you represent the United States of America with class, with
Thank you.
dignity. So I would want you to tell them you're American
For sure.
because you put on a good. You represent, I believe,
You represent a successful country, and they're basically failed countries.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I had never understood this. Oh, we should see what Europe is doing. Yeah, so we can fail like they do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I have to say, highlights from the trip were the art galleries and museums. I think
Yeah,
that's
they're
really
all-
lovely.
I think the art galleries are terrific. I think the history is terrific.
Mhm.
But Europe is history.
Yeah,
Got nothing to do with the present.
no, it's true.
And probably, unless it really changes, not much to do with the future.
I'd say the most alt left, you could say, city was probably Copenhagen. Because outside the museum, there was a modern statue sort of rejecting the fact that they're preserving
Ridiculous.
stolen, statues
Yeah.
and stuff.
The modern.
You know,
Too, it's
I-
vulgar too,
yeah.
because it's like a middle finger
It's
statue.
ridiculous.
Like, why would
We
they
have
invest
something in
money in
America.
that?
It's ridiculous. It's modernist.
I have to say we have to. I should make an amendment to that. The fact is that Eastern Europe is very progressive in the right way, meaning they are hardworking, they're very productive, they're extremely. I guess they value their freedom because they lived under Soviet tyranny for so long.
Yeah.
So if you go to a place like Poland or Latvia, or you're going to find a very different spirit than you are in France, where they think working 30 hours a week is like very unfair. And a 1 month vacation, it really should be 2. And they should get paid overtime after 28 hours a week. I mean, they're like falling apart. And when I said Greece, I mean, Greek Americans are the hardest working Americans. The ones in Greece, I mean, they haven't worked in 100 years. And it's not very much different in Italy. So I'm Italian,
But
in Italy, you say work and everybody, work.
well, hopefully our friend Kimberly is going to go over there and show them what hard work is like. And maybe the future ambassador to Greece, Kimberly Guilfoyle, we'll have to go visit her. And we'll have to go visit Mayor, I think, on a fact-finding mission.
I don't mind going. I think it's fun to go to Europe. What I find completely useless is trying to, model ourselves on them or ask for their advice. Or why would you ask a failing country for their advice when you're a successful country?
Didn't they run out of money about 10 years ago? Greece, they ran out of money and they couldn't even borrow any.
Well, they don't work.
I think the Germans bailed them out. Thanks.
But the Germans are starting to not work. Germany is becoming that way too.
But are they paying their fair share, NATO?
Oh, they better.
Yeah.
Want me to tell you a great story about that?
Oh, yeah.
So when Trump went to his first, whoever has 19 countries, the G19 or whatever, maybe it was NATO. He came in late. Oh, they're all sitting there, and the very officious woman who was the chancellor of Germany, remember her? Angela. And Trump loves to say Angela. She was presiding, and she said to him, "Mr. President, you're late." And he said, "Hey, when you're paying, you're allowed to be late. When you're the one paying for this, you're allowed to be late." then he sat down and he said, "Angela, you got the most successful economy in Europe, right? I read about how great your economy is." And she said, "Yes." I don't understand why you're a deadbeat. Yeah. She didn't know what it meant. And he said, well, you're not paying your bills. You're, some of these little countries pay their 2%. You're paying like 0.25%. So the guy from Albania, Eddie May.
He likes big fan of yours.
Eddie May,
He's a big fan of Mayor
said,
Giuliani.
well, Mr. President, that always annoyed us. He said, I know, little Albania pays 2%, Angela, and big Germany, is stiffing us. So we got to straighten this out. And that's when they asked him, would he defend a country that didn't pay their bills? I don't know if he meant it. He said, no. Why would I defend them if they don't pay their bills?
Well, what's the encouragement? Why would they start paying their bills if they know the United States is going to step in no matter what? I call that great negotiating.
Sucker country. We were the sucker country.
The suckers.
Because we always thought they were better than us.
Yeah, the same suckers that gave away the Panama Canal for $1. We protect all Europe and, we charge them nothing.
You think they're going to mention that in Jimmy Carter's eulogy?
No chance.
That he gave up the Panama Canal and it's now being controlled by China, by the Red Chinese?
Well, maybe we love having Paulina on. We've got a few other folks to get to.
Wait, I wanted to mention I'm reading a new book. I
I
brought it with me. I keep it in my bag. I'm reading Melania.
Oh,
but it's pretty good. I finished the first chapter. My thing is, it's a new week, a new book. So
a book a week.
Yeah. So when I left Germany, thank you.
That's a lot for someone like me.
I don't read anymore.
When I left Germany, it's so good for the brain. When I left Germany, I got Goodbye to Berlin by Christopher Isherwood. That was a great, great, great book to read after leaving Germany because it recounts true stories like during the times of the war. And it's really interesting. Like I always knew this, but they don't really teach it to you in history class, but they were communists, Nazis. And you see, but the book tells you how it slowly develops. And it's a great book to read.
What name of it? Say it again.
Goodbye to Berlin by Christopher Isherwood.
So how recent is it?
That's a good question. I mean, I got an updated version of the book, but I think I don't even think he's alive anymore.
Look on Amazon.
It is a 1939 novel, so that's very important.
Oh,
to point out. This came out in the waning days of I want to pronounce this right, the Weimar Republic.
1939. Hitler was in charge.
Yeah, but no, the Weimar
Republic was gone.
But yeah, but if the book came out in 39, it was obviously you're talking about.
Oh, you mean it's about?
I'm guessing. I don't know.
It goes back.
I'm guessing
it goes back. By 39, he already possessed Poland.
That's right.
Already taken Poland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. So what an interesting read. You've just, you know what? We're always reading nonfiction in the news.
Isherwood.
Christopher.
Write this down. We're going to call it Paulina's Book Club. We're going to start Paulina's
Isherwood. What was the name of it?
Goodbye to Berlin.
Goodbye to Berlin.
Anglo-American writer Christopher Isherwood. So he must have been over there.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he was.
So it gives you
lessons.
It gives you an idea of how they turned how the Nazis took over.
Yeah, but it's very personable. It's true stories. Obviously, the names he uses for the people aren't the same, but the stories are very much true.
Well, good. We'll take a look at it.
I'll let you know how this one is. So Amazon's dropping a documentary about military.
I know that. Yeah, they're doing
I want to read the book before I watch the documentary.
Well, several people have read it and said it was very interesting.
Yeah.
The book was very interesting.
She's so interesting. So in the first chapter, she essentially goes against the grain, which is a great outlook for life. No matter what you do the opposite of what the majority does.
Well, Ted should read it because he got to know her father.
Oh, nice.
At the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, right?
That's right. Oh, great man. He's more into hockey and basketball than he is into football.
But you were trying to explain football to him.
Yeah. So we were talking, and I love explaining, as a fan, I love talking and explaining football to people that have no idea about it, right? It's fun. It's interesting. And it pumps me up, right? It makes me feel so knowledgeable.
It
makes me feel so knowledgeable about something. I'm an expert for once, right? Watching football.
It's good. Well,
Yeah. We'll take a quick break. Paulina, I'm sure we'll see her again real soon.
please,
Sure.
anytime. She's terrific.
Thank
She's the
you.
best. So
We missed you.
we've got.
I missed you guys too.
Oh yeah, it does feel like so long, but we did keep up with you on Instagram. We texted throughout the trip.
Should I read the quote before I go? The one that you liked?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would. I
perfect.
do want you to read that.
Yeah.
It might be helpful to you too.
Yeah.
Meaning out there.
So it said, let me get to it.
So as we have just a few more guests, and on this very busy Tuesday night, here we go.
God is saying to you today, just fight a little longer, my friend. It's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. I believe that was the one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Wow.
Very good. Very good.
What a good quote.
Isn't that
And
beautiful? And of course, it's quite true.
give Paulina a follow. What's your Instagram?
It's my name,
Paulina Palladino.
Palladino.
So just give her a follow. She's always got great stuff. So
She does.
Thank you,
Very,
Paulina.
very interesting and very, very diverse.
And we'll be right back in just a moment with another exciting guest.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
And we are back.
So tell us, Ted.
So we've got a great guest now, friend of the show, longtime watcher. He'll always pipe in and give me some pointers or suggestions. I would call him an expert on a lot of what's happening in the Middle East, but even here in America, as just a world-class real estate developer and a well-known person in South Florida and a great man, Chagri Kanver. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So,
Chagri, tell us
Yeah.
about your background just a little bit, and then let's talk about the subjects of the day.
Well, I came to this country in 1996,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's up a little closer.
it was
It's a very sensitive micro. I know it's hard to move those. There you go. Now go ahead.
now.
Now it's all yours.
Anyway, I came to this country in 1996. I studied architecture, MBA, worked for an architectural company, worked for Deloitte Consulting, work around the world for different type of projects, especially in Middle East, and up and running countries. So I think I traveled over 100 countries in the world.
100.
Over 100.
100.
Mayor, have you?
Yeah.
Now, Mayor, have you been to 100 countries?
Yeah. Huh?
That's right.
Yeah, just about. Maybe last time I counted it was about 97, 98.
Which was the most difficult?
Most interesting.
Interesting.
You know, I
You come up with one, I'll come up with one.
the most interesting country.
Give us, yeah.
Kazakhstan was kind of interesting.
There.
Oman, the place that they're sending the
How about
place that
Sudan?
they're what?
How about Sudan?
I haven't been to Sudan.
Yeah.
Let me pick another one. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in Turkey?
Some of the South American, some of the little South American countries were.
How about Turkey?
Turkey, I was there twice. Both of the times I was there on a mission. So I didn't really to try to get a prisoner released. And I met with Erdogan. And
I was born and raised there.
and I didn't get a chance to really see it. You know, I was there on business.
Yeah.
And it was very, very sensitive,
Topic.
nervous kind of business. So we were, I thought it was beautiful. I thought Constantinople, Istanbul was beautiful.
1453.
Yeah. I mean, beautiful, beautiful.
Just the history there.
Turkey? Oh my goodness. Yeah, sure. Sure. But I really wish I had gotten a chance to see the country because I was there a long time, but it was all work. We're trying to do a prisoner exchange.
So speaking of Turkey, Shagri, why don't you tell us what is President Trump's reputation? I'm sure they even know the Mayor Giuliani, but what is the feeling, if there is one, on the incoming administration with President Trump, especially what's going on in Syria, which is right next door, right?
Well, everybody is very excited of him being coming on board again. Turks love, I don't know why, they love three presidents, from Turkey, from US, Kennedy, Clinton, and Donald Trump.
Kennedy,
Clinton, and Donald Trump.
Hey,
I don't
I
know.
wonder an interesting combination.
Interesting combination.
I bet you the Kennedy one is part of it is just the media, right? And even then, the global media.
I know.
Oh, tell us.
Yeah, why am I telling you?
It's being sincere. I think President Trump is very sincere. And he talks about it, whatever he thinks, and people receive it very positively. And I don't know, like when I was in Turkey recently, they're all excited about him being back again.
Now, so tell us about Kennedy and Clinton. What are the reasons why they're held in such high regard?
Well, Clinton is very easy. There was an earthquake in 1999.
Okay.
And he came to Turkey. And
that makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, he was very attentive for the people who lost their lives. And that's why people loved him because of that. And Kennedy, I think it was just a figure back then.
Yeah, he was very dynamic, dynamic.
And there was no TV, barely TV, no internet, nothing right back then. So people just react with what they see a little bit and what they read. I think that was Kennedy.
Now, how is Turkey now? How would you describe the condition of Turkey now?
Well, strategically, Turkey is in a very difficult location. You know, there are so many events happening every day in Syria, Iran, Iraq. I think they all understood one thing. You cannot do well in the region without Turkey. You cannot do well in the region without Israel. And you cannot do well in the region without Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I think Democrats made a horrible job for the region and messed it up more and more. I think it's getting better now, even with President Trump's wind.
Well, I mean, Trump has a very realistic, very open, and willing to deal with you if you're willing to deal with him.
Correct.
And is not a lot of mystery to it, which I think helps a lot.
And I think President Trump and President Erdogan are getting along. That's even.
Well, he is willing to talk to anybody, and you have to be. The whole. I always thought the criticism of him being able to deal with Kim Jong-un was ridiculous because he reduced dramatically the risk of nuclear confrontation.
Correct.
If you can talk, it doesn't mean you're going to completely eliminate it, but at least you have some ability to keep us safe.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it's all about Trump.
So what was so now you tell me the most interesting country that you've been to, or the most unusual?
Well, I went to Africa. Every African country was different.
Sudan? You're saying Sudan?
One of them, yes.
Now, why Sudan?
Construction.
Pardon me?
Construction.
Yeah.
Because Turks go to these weird countries to be able to execute the job.
Get the job done. Turkey is known for construction, isn't it?
Correct.
Around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Kazakhstan too.
Kazakhstan, but you named it in what country in Africa? Because that's a continent.
Sudan.
Sudan. And of course, there's ongoing issues right now. There is Sudan and South Sudan, but not everybody recognizes South Sudan. Is this true?
Correct.
So
That's a religious issue.
That's right. And I think the U.S. is operating in a lot of these regions, special forces, correct?
Yeah, well, that's a Muslim Catholic issue.
Conflict, yeah.
Oh, wow. That is interesting. The Catholic element of that.
Well, I mean, Africa is one of the fastest growing Catholic countries.
Wow.
Which is why there are so many African cardinals now.
That's a good point.
That's been going on for quite some time.
That's right. Africa and even Southeast Asia.
Yeah, as Europe becomes
secular
and atheistic, Africa is becoming. I think in Africa it's Catholic, and in Asia it's Christian, sort of mixed, Protestant, Catholic, evangelical.
Yeah. So before we let you go,
and the Catholics in Africa are very conservative.
That's interesting, and so, because here in America, I would call them a conservative Democrat, but they vote Democrat in America. I never understood that.
Who?
I know it probably goes back to Kennedy, but the Catholics in America that still vote Democrat, right?
It's changed a lot, though.
It has changed. And President Trump, he's probably the
President Trump probably won the Catholic vote by about 10%.
That is fascinating,
Yeah,
especially with Biden being the Catholic advocate.
First Republican to do that in a while.
And of course,
Ronald Reagan did too. Ronald Reagan, the Catholics were a lot of the Reagan Democrats.
Well, before we let you go, Chagri, tell us in your words, what makes America so unique and so special? As someone who's lived elsewhere,
that's a great question.
I've always loved to hear this because I haven't really lived anywhere else. What makes America so unique and so special?
Well, whatever happened good to me, it happened because all in this country. This country gave us hope, gave us power. We've been all recognized as being someone. And as long as you work hard, there's always reward in this country. So I'm an American now, like I'm a US citizen. And proud of it. But long story short, that if anything is going to happen, it's going to happen in this country for an individual and for their future.
I tend to agree with that. Yeah. That's wonderful. That's what makes America great. What you just said, and that's the wonderful side of immigration.
Yes.
Right.
How we keep getting renewed by new people who come here with the same spirit. But in some cases, they even revive our spirit.
Yes.
Because sometimes Americans can get a little self-satisfied.
Of course.
So somebody coming new can revive us.
Wow.
Thank you.
It's been 28 years, like I mentioned earlier.
Wow.
28 years, it's like yesterday. And what happened to all of us, immigrants? I think we're all immigrants, by the way, whoever lives in this country.
Yeah, sure we are.
As long as we obey the rules, the law, being good citizens, there's future for everyone in this country.
No, that's the spirit.
That's the spirit, and that is just wow. Well, thank you, Chagri.
Thank you.
He's a big fan of the show, Mayor. He's a big fan of yours. He's not getting into it on the air here, but I just want you to know how much. Yeah. We got two more special guests, and so we're going late night with Mayor Giuliani. We'll be right back.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order.
Well, welcome back. It's Rudy Giuliani, America's Mayor Live. We're going deep into soccer time tonight because we have such interesting guests. But just if you give me a moment, I want to show people that chart there because it relates to my the city of my birth, and it's a tragedy. That represents the number of people who have taken the police test and the change from 2017 to 2024. If that trend continues, they're not going to have cops in New York. So in 2017, 18,463 people took the test to be a New York City police officer. Now you watch that. It keeps going down. 15,000, 14,000, 14,000. How about 6,000, 9,000, and 8,000? That's that 18,000 has been cut in more than half at 8,177. It means a couple of things. It means there aren't going to be enough people. First of all, the police department is down to 33, 32. I mean, they lie about it. So 32, 33. So when I left at the height of it, it was 41,000. And I did a lot of great things with the police department, and the police department did a lot of great things with me. But I wouldn't have done it without having enough policemen. I mean, the strategies like Comstat and broken windows theory and safe at home and all these things required, first of all, a sufficient number of police, and then well-trained, intelligent, qualified people. That 8,000 number indicates to me the quality probably has decreased dramatically. Yeah, I mean, this is saying that the morale is broken, and Adams has done nothing to change it. In fact, it's almost worse because he was an ex-cop who was a phony ex-cop. I mean, I don't know. He was a cop when I was the mayor. He even supported me for re-election. However, I can't remember an arrest that he made. So what I mean, he was a political bullshit artist. And 8,177, he should be ashamed of himself. That's a reflection of how people look at the police department. If it doesn't change, this is a disaster. And when we finish, I'm going to tell you something very surprising, because running against him is Andrew Cuomo. And it's quite possible, despite what I just said about Adams, we might go from bad to worse. But we're going to talk about that right at the very end. So now,
well, we've got our friend. You might remember her from last year. She's been traveling all over the world. So she's back here in Palm Beach, I'm guessing for the season. I don't know. You're from, well,
let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. We're with Face Hangman.
Let's see what happens.
Season.
If you stay this cold, you're not going to stay, right?
Yeah, probably.
So what happened? She's a world-class gardener.
Global colding.
Yeah. And she wants to come on. She's a big fan of yours, Mayor, in the show. And
you loved our last conversation when we had our moon landing.
We talked about.
By the way, the book just came out. Do you remember when we spoke about space?
The book is
when the art landed on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
We officially launched Art Royalty. This is what we've been kind of plugging everywhere. And it's the very first art to land on the moon in history. And it landed on February 22nd of last year. It launched from Kennedy.
The hologram?
Yeah, that's a hologram. But it actually launched on the SpaceX Falcon 9. It was aboard the Odysseus mission that was powered by...
This book explains the mission?
Yes.
Oh.
Chapter 22 explains the mission. Like the previous, which is the final kind of grand finale of that book. It talks about the art index, that was me as an intern at the Palais in Monaco, and Prince Albert, which was fabulous. So it chronicalizes my early days as a Sotheby's Institute student, many exhibitions that I curated, such as this at the JP Morgan Library. I've done a lot with JP Morgan. They sponsored my show at the Guggenheim Museum recently for the Art Index, which was the major project that kind of crescendos in this book, where I was the first to put the old masters on the blockchain. And they are now kind of like the blue chip indicator of fine art on the blockchain. And so we basically authenticate the works.
That's hard, isn't it?
I mean,
There's got to be a lot of fraud out there.
You know what?
Is there not?
We work closely with it's called the Artist Rights Society in New York City, which is basically the watchdog of copyright for artists. And it's a fabulous institution because it's by membership only. They only work with the most prestigious artists in the world, the most like museum quality, and you have to apply to be a member. They only accept you by membership, and they basically go around and just,
Contemporary works can't have to be easier to authenticate.
Yeah, I mean,
old
well said.
have a history, right?
Well said. I mean, that's absolutely right. And my master's degree is from Sotheby's Institute in contemporary art. So throughout my career, I've worked with contemporary. And that's fabulous because you're working with the artist. You can authenticate everything. There's no question about authenticity. Old masters. The beauty of this project on the blockchain is that we took the pieces that were previously in the public domain, like Monet, Van Gogh. We started this probably 7 years ago. We were the first to put old masters onto the blockchain. So it does exactly what you just described, which is it removes the question of authenticity because we are validated as the first to do that on the blockchain.
So I kind of ask you a question I've always thought about. So if somebody does a great job of copying a Monet, right? Doesn't it mean they're a great artist too? If they do such a good job that it makes it difficult, you can discover it, but it makes it difficult.
Well, I think it's a great point. I mean, there's actually
I mean, I couldn't do it.
There's a term called there are appropriationists where they're deliberately taking art that has been already created and they're copying it verbatim, literally copying it verbatim.
They acknowledge things.
And they're appropriating the art.
Okay, but that's one thing. I mean, but I'm talking about somebody who tries to fool you.
That would be called like a like you see it in the movies like Thomas Crown Affair where they're like,
Does it actually happen?
I don't see it in the contemporary sector, but I mean, people, you see it even walking through the Soho where people have like a Warhol, on the side of this, they have tons of Warhols, on the street.
Yeah, but they're not. I mean,
They're $15.
Right.
They're in the style of identical Warhol,
And is it easy to spot those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely, you can spot them a mile.
Right. Well, I think it's a fascinating, it's like detective work.
Well, it's really interesting because the current price record in the art market was $450 million for the Salvator Mundi that was created by Leonardo da Vinci. And the major issue with old masters is you just can't get them anymore because they're all behind closed glass in all the major museums. Like,
I mean, you can't get them privately.
Yeah, you can't, like private collectors.
Well, there's sort of a thing, I guess, if they're great works of art, you want them available for people to see them.
Yeah, I mean it's great they're in museums.
Even some of the great art collectors have taken their art and made it public for certain periods of time.
Right. I mean, but like great art collectors always want to own the piece. It's just the instinct of great collectors.
Right.
And so they basically have a new way to collect old masters on the blockchain where they can now collect the Mona Lisa. And there's only one of those on the blockchain.
Right.
It brings a whole, they can now collect that Leonardo da Vinci. There's only one of
Mona
each.
Lisa.
Yeah, only one on the blockchain. There's only one in the real world, which is in the Louvre in Paris. But that is a part of the public domain in the copyright. So we authenticated that on the art index. So because we were able to do that, we've gotten tons of back support through Wall Street.
Mm.
We're viewed as like the you probably are familiar with, obviously, like Anthony Scaramucci from Skybridge. He helped do the due diligence and make a recommendation for the art index as an as an investment vehicle for funds, pension funds, hedge funds, which is extraordinary because in the past there have been conservation issues and limiting factors that might not have been ideal for a school teacher's hedge pension fund. Where this is the floor price is pegged to the actual art market. So it's available. The floor price is 1% of what the actual comp value is. So there's transparency, there's a lot of upward growth, and the school teachers can now say, hey, we own this Mona Lisa and put it in their classworks, and then profit when they retire. So
it's fascinating. So how can people get art royalty?
It's now on Amazon. And I do have to say, I'm very proud of the fact that Pat Hackett, the editor of the Andy Warhol Diaries, is a longtime friend of mine. I was on the board with her at the National Arts Club, and she edited it for me as a favor to help me finish this book that's been in progress for 5 years.
On the back here, you have Mona Stacy's limited edition. What's that?
Thank you for asking. That's actually, I've had a column in W Magazine for many years. It's called Stacy Engman is a work of art, and it's always me posing with.
I don't know if you can see it.
And this is a picture of me as the Mona Lisa. So it's called Mona Stacy. It just kind of ties into the work that I've been doing.
Well, thank you very, very much. This is fascinating, and
I love it.
I find this space. We have now two books, right? You can get Melania, and we can get art royalty, right?
Book club.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back very, very shortly.
Yeah, but we'll be back with our fun guest. You'll want to stick around.
Are you
Stephen? Would you?
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news, even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order.
And we're back.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with another old friend, great friend.
Let me get this right. Prezioso.
Wow, you did it well.
I got it. Wow.
My goodness. You could be Italian.
Not bad for a non-Italian Midwestern.
Amazing, right? Prezioso. Dear friend. Dear friend.
So, yeah.
This is the book I just finished reading that I wanted to tell you about. I mean, I'm getting nothing for promoting this, and I don't even know the authors. It says Tom Clancy, but obviously it's in the Tom Clancy tradition. The authors are Andrews and Wilson. both of whom are military professionals. And it's a fabulous book and quite timely because it's about a Chinese plot by a Chinese prime minister to attack Taiwan and to make it look like Taiwan instigated the attack. And, Jack Ryan, who is in all of the Clancy books from way back with the Hunt for the Red October, is at this point the president, and his daughter is one of the undercover and intelligence operatives. And it is quite interesting. It teaches you a lot about China, about their preparedness or lack thereof, and it holds your attention. It's a very, very good book. It's called Defense Protocol, and it's a Jack Ryan novel by Tom Clancy, and I enjoyed it a lot. So, Joe.
Mr. Mayor, it's been such a long time.
Yeah.
We've had so many great experiences together, mostly at the St. Regis Hotel.
Yes.
For election nights and dinners and cigar smoking.
But you could
when we were allowed to.
Someone could do it before they
When
put
we
you
were
in
allowed
prison
to.
for it.
That's correct.
I mean, Bragg doesn't put you in prison for murder, but cigar smoking.
Cigar
you go to
smoking,
jail.
you'll go.
Yeah.
For sure. And I'm here to support one of the greatest mayors of New York, but also one of the greatest people that New York has
Oh, you're
put
too
out there.
much.
No, it's true. And what's happening to you now is absolutely criminal. So I just wanted to make that point.
Well, thank you.
And whatever can be done by me.
Well, your
tried my
support
best
and
to
your
support.
friendship and means a lot. And the friends that stay with you at a time like this, you know who your real friends are.
No doubt
Because
about
you lose a lot of them.
Nobody knows better than I.
You lose a lot of them. Or
No doubt. They run for cover.
they're afraid. And,
Yeah.
these people, this is part of what they're trying to do. I mean, they're trying to frighten people from, in essence, not just supporting Trump, but being part of the MAGA.
Well, it's even worse than that. They're actually trying to physically intimidate.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And really try to hurt you
Every way.
financially,
Destroy you.
Spiritually, and then mentally in every way they can. So I basically wanted to say, don't let them take your mind.
They make me
The
stronger.
mind is critical.
Honestly, they make me stronger.
Yeah. I'm like the Forrest Gump of the hospitality industry. I got to meet in my blessed career.
He is and was the greatest.
Thank you.
I got to tell you. So I'm going to ask you a question back from old New York, since we know. So right now, I was just reading today that Andrew Cuomo is denying it, but every indication is he's going to run against Adams in the Democrat primary. And he's ahead. They didn't give the poll, but they said he's ahead. And Adams got a lot of problems, but Cuomo's got a lot of problems too.
He does. He does. And I have a certain amount of experience with the Cuomo family in that Governor Cuomo, original.
Yeah, very different.
Very different. Extremely, extremely intelligent and extremely, extremely bright and well-spoken. And I had a very good relationship with him. I did his daughter's wedding at the St. Regis.
Oh, you did?
And and for many years, he was governor at the time, and was fortunate enough, even though being a Republican, he wanted me there. He asked me to be with him on stage at Madison Square Garden for his DNC delivery. And I told him, I said, Governor, I'm not a Democrat. He said, that's okay. I want you there, Joe. I want you there with me. And I did. I went to support him. And I always thought very, very highly of him and his ability to be across the board fair. I think he was actually too intelligent for the electorate. And his thoughts
and a little and somewhat indecisive.
Indecisive, yes.
Yeah, not brilliant, but indecisive.
What a brilliant guy.
Yeah.
And I actually miss him. He was a very good friend. But you always say that the sons have a long way to go to be the father. And in this particular case, it's not even close.
Well, we're not gonna talk about Chris. Chris is a different situation, and he's a reporter, so
Yes.
it's a different. But Andrew, my goodness, I mean, so you look at what's wrong with New York, right? Particularly the people that go out now with no bail. I think there are about 5,000 to 7,000 people walking the streets that'd be in jail if I were mayor or Bloomberg were mayor.
Mm-hmm.
The law that did that was passed by Cuomo.
Yes. Yes, it was.
He passed that law.
Yes, it was a big mistake.
Yeah.
And again, my
And
wife,
like everything else, he won't take responsibility.
my wife, 22-year veteran of the NYPD, is a sergeant, retired. She's here with me tonight. Joanne, thank you. And she makes the famous point that the minute they started to allow water bottles to be thrown at police officers
Do you remember?
and get away with it,
That's a very, very good point.
was the time that it started to deteriorate, and police officers had lost the respect of the people.
We're going to
And
go back and find that. Are you thinking of the same one I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of the time when they threw water. He was an Asian police officer,
yes,
and they threw water on him.
yeah,
I think it was in Harlem. They threw water on him. And I expected watching that, knowing 5 uncles who were cops.
yeah.
He was going to turn around and beat the shit out of the guy.
Mhm.
Instead, he puts his head down and walks away.
Walked away. Yeah, yeah.
And then I know a lot of cops, and I even defended him a little, saying things are different now, and he had to worry about his career. But you knew that was a turning point. And I think that the second turning point, I think that was before the mayor of Minneapolis, gave up the police station to the riot.
100%. But that is, again,
As a Flint mayor, I said, I want to go there and like the Alamo, we're going to fight.
100%. That was actually years after that particular incident with the water, and it slowly declined to that point, which was almost a crescendo. But now, if you see what you have today in the police department when it comes to leadership, it is criminal what's going on. Just recently, you had everyone in that whole administration just either resign, retire, or get fired. Especially at the commissioner's level, all the way on down, chief of department. We never had that before.
No, we didn't. And you look at those numbers that I put up before; they don't lie. I mean, you go down from 18,000 taking tests, wanting to be a police officer, to 8,000.
Yeah, it's a sad statement in New York, and it's unfortunate because as you and I both are native New Yorkers, love the city so much. To see it deteriorate in such a precipitous way is terrible.
Yeah, and
you're missed. Let me say that you are missed.
The reason we could do the things that we did is the police department inherently back in 1990 and 1980 they inherently had great talent. It just wasn't being utilized right.
Correct.
But you can be the biggest miracle worker in the world, and if it doesn't have great talent, you're not going to accomplish anything.
100%.
And that's what they're doing. They're giving it away. It's like the military, but I think Trump will straighten that out. I mean, once again this year there are less people volunteering for the military because the military, you have to go through 6 weeks of training with a drag queen.
Yep. It's unbelievable. The common sense is not common any longer, and I'm hoping that he brings it back.
Yeah.
And I know he will. I like Forrest Gump. I was fortunate enough to work for Mr. Trump.
I would not want to be in a foxhole with a drag queen.
No. With Donald Trump, yes, but not with a drag queen.
I may have missed this. You worked for President Trump?
I did. I served 6 presidents, both in and out of office. Reagan twice, Clinton twice. And like I say, when I say Forrest Gump, Bibi Netanyahu, the Shah of Iran, served tea to the Queen of Thailand, the King of Morocco, you name it, and I've served them, including His Honor, many times.
And Erdogan, right?
And I'll give you an anecdote on the Trump when I was working for Ivana and Donald Trump at the Plaza Hotel for a short period of time, 2 years. We did an event in the terrace room at the Plaza that eventually went up to the ballroom. And it was the opening party for the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. At the time, they were promoting one of the big fights that was going to be the opening extravaganza at the Taj Mahal. And I was given, as head of banquet services, was given the 2 head tables. Mr. Trump at the time, President Trump, was sitting at one. So we were on point. Everybody was there, had all of the top waiters with me, and served 20 people, 2 tables of 10 that morning breakfast at about 8:30, 9 o'clock. All the top executives from Trump, Taj Mahal, the Trump, the other Trump hotel in Atlantic City. There were 20 top executives, president of casino operations, Donald Trump, Ivana was sitting there, and served them breakfast. I got to know a lot of them. One of them was the grandson of, his name is Edis. His last name was Edis, was the grandson of, I believe, Grossinger's.
Grosinger was the great Jewish resort.
Correct.
In the
And he was in the hotel business for many, many years. He was top.
Grossinger's was world.
Yeah, that's a sad story because at 9 o'clock, I served them all breakfast. And at 10:30, they were all dead. They all crashed on the Trump helicopter, not the Trump helicopter, but the helicopter that was bringing them back to Taj Mahal in New Jersey. And
I remember that.
Time,
I remember that.
President Trump or Donald Trump at that time got on, had another meeting and was not on the chopper going back.
What a story, Joe.
They took a third party helicopter.
He was supposed to be on that helicopter?
And yes, he was.
No.
And he had.
Well, that's the second time then.
The third time, if you count the golf course.
Yeah.
That guy looking. So,
wow.
You say that God has a plan. God saved his life that day. And
I remember how many people died on the helicopter?
I think there was 12.
I don't remember.
It was either 10 or 12 that died that morning.
No. It was before I was mayor.
It was 1988.
Koch was the mayor.
Late 87, late 88.
It was around the time he was.
88. It was definitely.
Around the time he was doing the ice rink.
Yes.
That would be the period of time he took up Koch's challenge and did the ice rink.
Yeah, I mean, Eric and Ivanka Trump at the time, probably babies. I had them in my hands, one on the other hand. While Ivana was, Joseph, we need to move this, and Joseph, we need to move
She was very involved, hands-on, right?
With the decorating, with the events. She came around quite often. She actually recruited me from the St. Regis. Again, a funny story. She came for an event in January or February of '88, and they had just purchased the plaza at the time, and I got a phone call the next day after I greeted them, because I even served his mom and dad at the St. Regis before we closed the hotel. And April, she calls me and says, Joseph, I'd like you to come over. I want you to be a director of banquet operations for the plaza. I said, Mrs. Trump, I said, I'm really gratified. Baby. Yeah. I said, I really was gratified, but I love the St. Regis. I love this hotel, and I really don't have any interest in moving. Well, thank you, but if you have a change of heart, come by, and I'd like to speak to you. So that's April. June, we get letters in a mailbox at the St. Regis that they're closing the hotel for renovation. They were doing a $250 million renovation at the time. So immediately I went to go see the GM. I said, what do I do now? He says to me, Joe, if Mrs. Trump call her and go, and when we reopen, we'll bring you back. So that's what happened. I called Mrs. Trump. I said, Mrs. Trump, you called me a little while ago, and are you still interested in my service?
Was it still open? It still open?
Yeah. So
you were lucky. It was still
open in June. I went to the plaza and as soon as we closed the doors, I closed every box at the St. Regis, went to the plaza for the 2 years, and then I was recalled to St. Regis to go back to open every box when we reopened and do all the training for the.
And then you stayed at the.
Then I stayed at St. Regis.
Until you retired?
I retired.
When did you retire?
I'm out since 2004.
Yeah.
But now I'm doing, private work.
Yeah.
A lot of, actually security work along with my wife. We have a little small security company that does event security throughout New York.
You live in Florida?
I live in Palm Beach. Have some clients down here as well.
Yeah.
Living on Singapore.
He's a refugee like I am.
Exactly. exactly. The free state of Florida, thank
He's a
God.
refugee. We're
Yeah.
refugees. The free state of Florida.
Free state of
Unbelievable.
Florida.
What a difference, huh?
Yeah. And I'll never forget.
And what a shame what happened to our whole city, huh?
Well, it's
a tragedy.
It's a tragedy, and it's to see something knocked down, tore down in such a rapid fashion. I think the person that was really responsible was de Blasio.
Yeah.
Blasio was really responsible.
Adams probably would have been okay if he took over the city from me or from Bloomberg.
And you see his tone is changing, Adams. He sees the
No, a lot of Adams
writing on the wall.
A lot of Adams' problem is he's okay. He's just not a great mayor. You need succeeding de Blasio. You needed a great mayor.
Yeah.
Who could revive the city.
And that was you, but they couldn't bring you back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, and I say this with a great deal of love, because I can tell you one more anecdote and then I'm done. But back in, all right, I'll give you a couple.
He's got some air to him. No, he's got some great.
This is a great Giuliani story, and probably one that many do not know. My mom was ill, took ill back in, was it 90? I'm going to say 91 or 2. When was your mom in the hospital? You remember?
Around that time.
Mount Sinai.
Mount Sinai. Well, she did Mount Sinai a couple of times.
His mom.
91 and 92, she had a triple bypass.
Correct.
She had a triple bypass.
His Honor's mom, Mrs. Giuliani, was in Mount Sinai.
Yep.
And my mom, coincidentally, is in ICU at Mount Sinai with something that no one could figure out what was going on. Some guy said, she was down here, and I said, Mom, I'm taking you back to New York. We're bringing you to Mount Sinai. So we did, and somebody up there says, oh, she's got bone cancer. I said, bone cancer? Out of nowhere, bone cancer. No, and then the lungs, problem with lungs, they were guessing, going back and forth. She winds up in ICU and completely out of it. And my dad is going up in the elevator, about to go up in the elevator. I'm at work at the St. Regis. And who walks on the elevator? The mayor. So my father, of course, recognizes him and says hello to him. I don't know if you remember, but he says, Mr. Mayor.
Now that you're saying this, I remember.
Mr. Mayor, he says,
I remember it now.
You know my son. He says, well, who's your son? He says, Joe Prezioso from the St. Regis. He says, of course I know Joe. What are you doing here? He says to my father. He says, well, Joe's mom, my wife,
I do.
in ICU.
Absolutely.
He was getting off the elevator. Instead of getting off the elevator, he says, come on, get back on. I'm going to come up with you to ICU. And it was, there weren't any people allowed in ICU at the time, but my dad was allowed. And he came in with Giuliani. The whole ICU stopped at the time. He walked into ICU, went to my mother's bedside, and true story. He said to my mom, you're going to be okay. Said a prayer. And they found out the next day that she had a staph infection. That an infectious disease guy came by and said, don't listen to anybody else in this hospital. She has staph infection. His name was Dr. Gumbrick. Great guy.
Yeah, I know him.
And they solved the case in a week with heavy doses of antibiotics. And she was good for another 20 years. She passed away 2 years ago.
How old was she?
92. But when that happened, it was in the 70s.
My mother died at 92.
There you go. So it was just a coincidence that he was there that day and took the time to go up to see my mom, which I was eternally grateful for.
Well, I'm glad I did.
That's a good one.
I'm glad I did.
Yeah, I'm glad you did too. I'm really glad.
Well, thank you for telling people that.
Yeah,
that
great story. But that's the kind of man he is.
It means a lot.
And there's not many like that around.
There's not, and he's not going to tell me these stories.
No.
He'll be the last one to tell me these stories. So I am very thankful, Joseph, that you came on and told us this story, because there are countless stories like that with this mayor.
It's like I said,
they don't, and I don't want to get into the media and these people today, but thank you. All I can say is thank you.
The media are prostitutes.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. They're prostitutes, and
it's unfortunate. The other day, Judge Lyman sort of accused me of not telling the truth.
I saw that.
Which I don't do. I tell the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, he's accusing me of not telling the truth. And he walks out And he comes back 10 minutes later and pretends that he had made the decision after I testify, when in fact, he's the liar. It's a complete fraud. I testified for nothing. The whole testimony meant he had written his opinion before I testified, before my lawyer argued, and then he thinks I'm a fool, and I'm going to think that he wrote it in 10 minutes. So and he's accusing me of being a liar.
Their playbook.
He's the liar.
Yeah, the playbook.
He's the dishonest person.
They're the ones that say everything that they say you're doing, they're doing.
Yeah.
And
it's false because I'm telling the truth. Why would I can't imagine why I would lie about. I've given them everything I know I have. They've taken away everything I have. They have no idea that, of course, it bothers me, but I'm very proud of myself.
You wear it as a badge of honor.
I'm very proud of myself because I'm standing up for my country, and they're acting like a bunch of they're acting like a bunch of Nazis.
Yeah. They are they're worse than prostitutes.
And if we don't stand up to them, the country's going to go in that direction. And I feel at least I'm playing a role in fixing my country, and that's worth anything.
Yeah.
And so every time we get tested, it turns out I'm telling the truth and they're lying. And then we got to do it again. Like I was telling the truth about Russian collusion. They were lying. I was telling the truth about the hard drive. They were lying. I was telling the truth about Ukraine. They were lying. So how many times do I have to be telling the truth and they're lying for people for them to trust me?
Yeah. Then they try to make everybody else believe their story. And try to gaslight.
And they pretend that Biden isn't like one of the biggest crooks ever in American history. The guy took millions.
Millions is probably an understatement. Once everything is revealed,
It's a terrible thing.
And of course it's terrible. It puts a whole country at risk, and for personal gain and greed, which is what
people that died because of him.
A lot of people are dead, and
A good president would have. These people would have been alive.
100%. And the only thing, like I said, is a plan. God has a plan.
Agreed.
Trump is part of that plan.
Agreed.
And hopefully he's going to be able to
That's an
right
amazing.
a lot of wrongs.
That's an amazing story about the helicopter. I had
true story.
I had forgotten that he was supposed. I remember the incident very well, but I didn't remember that he was supposed to be on the.
I'll tell you one more Trump story at the plaza, which is a funny story, and it didn't involve you, but it's a funny story in that I had to wherever he went, I went.
Mm-hmm.
If he was in my space, I was there and I took care of him. So we had a kosher event in the Palm Court. In the terrace room again.
Right, I remember that.
And then it went up to the ballroom. We sat down, and it was one of the. I forgot the name of the organization. Was American Jewish Appeal, AJC. One of the big, and he was being honored. He's at the head table, and I have the head table.
Was this at the Plaza or at the
Plaza?
St. Regis?
Plaza. So now I'm at the Plaza, and of course it's kosher catered by Newman Leventhal, I think at the time. And again, I have him. I'm like where he goes, I go. So he sits down at the table, 10 people, all very high profile, high asset people with him. And I know he's not eating kosher food. He's just not. He's just not because he doesn't. Not because he's being anti-Semitic or anything. But it's not for him. And I know it in advance.
What, you got to get a hamburger?
So listen. So here's the story. He goes. So now he sits down. He sees me. How you doing, boss? Okay. He sits down. Joe, how are you? Okay, good. He sits down. No problem. Now the first course, I see him. He pushes it away. I think it's a salad. He pushes it away. In the meantime, I run down to the Palm Court.
Right.
I said, give me a steak, and I want it burnt. He has it just like the sole of your shoe. He eats it burnt to death. I said, give it to me. It's for the boss. So of course they give me the 14 ounce, 16. No, I know, but no, I had to give him steak. So I give him steak and French fries.
Right.
So I go up and I'm running into the ballroom with it, and who sees me? The kosher caterer and the rabbi are standing.
Whoa.
They say to me, Joe, where you going? You can't go. Listen, guys, you got your God. I got mine. I ran right by him. I put it down right in front of him. He looked up at me, winked. He said, thanks, Joe. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
I don't know. I think by doing that, you dekosher it.
I don't know. I said that day I was the
I'm
Mashiach.
sure. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember the rules.
I said that day I was the Mashiach. I told him. I said I did the kosherization. But yeah, he's a great guy, great man. Another guy, nobody knows him. Nobody really knows him. Donald Trump. He's done more philanthropic things without his name.
Yeah, I know that. He and
that no one could even imagine.
You know, the two of them were like twins on that. He and Steinbrenner.
Yes.
Steinbrenner and
Sinatra, same thing.
Yeah, they would love to do it and be anonymous. They, I used to try because a lot of it they did when when I was mayor, they would call up and ask to help, and I would say, I don't want you to say anything, and I didn't. And for many years, I did it at George's funeral, but George used to be like that, and they were very good friends.
Very much.
Yeah.
You had a big heart.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned earlier, and again, one more. We'll have time?
Yeah.
Have a little time?
Stories are great.
This is a funny story. You mentioned Secret Service earlier. You were talking about the Secret Service. So in my line of work, I dealt with the Secret Service quite a bit.
Right.
A lot of head of states, a lot of presidential.
What's the first president? You go back to Reagan?
Well, I served Nixon when he was not in office afterwards. I served Ford when he was not in office. I served Carter when he was not in office. I saw Reagan twice in office.
Okay, so Reagan is the first president.
First president I really served
office.
in office, and then I served Clinton twice.
You know, he's the only
in
president
office.
I worked.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I only worked for one president.
No, I know Reagan.
I was the lawyer for Donald Trump. But I didn't work for him.
Yeah. So we're doing an event, and it's at the New York Hilton where I worked previously to all of these when I started out in training, and I had the East Penthouse. And there was a very famous Staten Island American Indian from Staten Island who was an artist. I forgot his name. But maybe, but very famous in his art world. And he painted Ronald Reagan and Mrs. Reagan on horseback in cowboy outfits.
Oh,
and as an American
hero.
Indian hero, with the American flag on horses, all decorated horses, because he knew Ronald Reagan was a big horse guy from California, ranch and a whole bit. The painting was spectacular. It's beautiful. It was up in the East Penthouse. So now, before we serve the president, they always have Secret Service come in, check the food, check where we got it from, check everything. They went through everything. 2 days and 3 days before for the presidential. We go up to the East Penthouse. Okay. The day of, they have to do a sweep. And they cleared the East Penthouse. The East Penthouse at the New York Hilton was probably 10,000 square feet, 12,000 square feet. It's huge.
Yeah.
Duplex. Now, what they do to Secret Service, they bring in people from West Point that have P4 explosives with them. They allow them to plant the P4 throughout the penthouse. Unbeknownst to anybody, what they're doing is they're going to test NYPD's bomb squad dogs. So these kids but people from West Point come in, they plant throughout the penthouse, one in a book, one underneath the table, one in a couch, one in a drawer. Here comes NYPD bomb squad. NYPD comes in with the two dogs, 2 labs, and they say, release, search.
Right.
Here goes the dog. Running all over the place. They run. First dog sits down, starts barking, carrying on. Sure enough, they find the first P4. Second dog, on the second floor, they find the second P4. The third one, the second dog finds. The fourth one, they find right away. Boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody happy. Now the dogs are still running, the dogs. So now the 2 bomb squad guys are looking at each other. They can't figure out why the dogs are continuing to search. All of a sudden, the 2 dogs sit down at a coffee table, start barking again. Now, they all know that the 4 P4 explosives have been found already. So now they're looking at each other, Secret Service, the bomb squad. What the hell's going on? Now, the bomb squad guys go over, just to tell you the Secret Service competence. On top of the table, there's a woman's purse, like that, on the top of a coffee table. Now they're really scared. what the hell could this be? The bomb squad guy goes in, puts his hand in the bag, comes out with a 357 Magnum.
Wow.
The dogs picked up the gunpowder.
Yeah.
A Secret Service agent, woman,
Right.
Secret Service agent, left her pocketbook with the gun in the pocketbook on the side table.
They are good.
The dogs are great. The Secret Service, I can tell you, maybe not be so great. So it goes back a long way with sometimes the incompetence of the federal government.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing like that.
I mean,
when it comes to law enforcement.
even the FBI. I mean, they're
Same thing.
The
rank and file.
When I did the mafia cases, the RICO cases, a lot of them involve having to prove homicides. Now, homicide is generally not a federal crime. So federal prosecutors and FBI, they don't do a lot of homicide cases. So I required the FBI. I told them, the hell yeah, I'm bringing in the NYPD to do the homicide cases. You don't know homicide. No, we have a laboratory. I said, look, they, when I came into office as mayor, and this is when I was a U.S. attorney, they were doing 2,000 homicides a year. The FBI doesn't do 2,000 homicides in a century.
True. Yeah.
I said, these people really know homicide, and stop being assholes.
Yeah.
And we want to solve a homicide. Let's go to a New York City detective.
If they were to learn their lesson from that time, the collaboration between, agencies like the federal government and the local government, maybe 9/11 might not have happened.
Yeah.
If you think
There's
about
a lot.
that,
But a lot of that is at the federal level too, between the CIA and the FBI.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Anyway.
Let's see what happens with the people he's putting in. He's got some very, very good and different kind of people
And aggressive,
who understand the problem. I mean, I am so excited about Kash Patel. I know him really, really well.
You helped support him.
But it's wonderful to put a guy in who knows the problem. He lived the problem, so he knows what's wrong with the FBI. He'll fix it.
That's right.
Thank you, John.
I love you.
You've got to come back and tell stories.
Joe, and we got to get his better half on.
Yeah.
Tell
So
me
where's the guy?
Shut me.
She's spent 22 years
for TV.
She spent 22 years with the NYPD.
For radio, so
She's a lot better looking than you.
Much better looking than I am.
And number two, she got to have great stories.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have to hear her stories next.
Good one.
And I mean,
But she will tell you that Mayor Adams, as you said, never made an arrest. They referred to him as a broom.
Yeah.
A broom is the person that would stay in the precinct and basically just sweep up, as a cop. So never really, and he just went through the test, to get to where he was.
Well, that's why it helped. Wow. People thought, well, this is going to really help the morale of the PD. The mayor, but the cops don't.
They hated him.
Yeah.
First of all,
it's worse. They don't consider him a cop. They consider him a politician.
No, but
politician.
He was so, when he was a cop, he was so
anti-cop.
Not only anti-cop, but he was a racist.
Yes, anti-white,
and he hated the white hierarchy of the police department, which was for hundreds of years
crazy
in place.
Yeah,
and it just showed.
Turn that down.
He surrounded himself with his own kind, but I think it was part of his demise. If you look at everybody that he surrounded himself.
Well, you remember before he got himself in trouble, he pointed out how all of his deputy mayors.
Yeah, look at the chocolate here.
Yeah, we're all now.
He said
them under.
You're right. He did. That was not long.
He walked around in chocolate.
Have you ever seen this much chocolate in a leadership meeting or something?
I've never seen as many deputy mayors under investigation here.
All of them. Look at this last one with the police chief of patrol.
Yeah,
4-star chief. I mean, had a.
I won't say Americans. People very close to the mayor have been ever since I've been working with the mayor. I was always asked, who's this Eric Adams guy? And some people very close to the mayor had said, this guy's going to be under an investigation before you know it.
Oh boy.
A person who you know very, very well and understands New York very, very well said to me, he's not going to make it 4 years. I said, why? Is he sick? He said, no, he's going to get indicted.
Boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Well, we're having Joe back for sure. And all
Thank you.
You're great guests tonight. What a great show. Thanks for all of you sticking with us in the hour 3. Yeah, we had a great night.
A little different. And I see we put up there all the ambassadors that have been appointed by Trump. That's quite a few ambassadors.
He's moving right along.
I mean, I've never seen an administration get put together as fast as this one. And they really owe it to him to whoever has to be approved by the Senate. I mean, come on, just get it done.
Get it done.
And from the Democrat point of view, give him his people. And if he fails, you can criticize him. You can't criticize him if you don't give him his people.
But the
only way I could succeed is through other people when I was the mayor.
Of course, you have to surround yourself with smart people, otherwise you'll never succeed. But that's the way we were in the hospitality business. You always want to have the best people with you in order to be as successful as you can be, because you can't do it alone.
Right, exactly.
You can't do it alone.
Yeah.
It's an amazing way. But the Republicans, they have all the cards. Just make it happen.
Well, first of all, we have a lot more talent and a lot more common sense. Well, we're gonna be back tomorrow at 7 on the Rudy Giuliani show, and that'll be on that. Well, they're all on X. Everything's on X, on Musk's X, but we're also on we're on Rumble, and we're on Facebook, and we're on YouTube, and we're on Getter, and we're on QUX, and we're on Newsmax, and we're on Facebook, and I don't know whatever. We're not on TikTok, and the president elect and I disagree about that. TikTok out. Get all the Chinese spies out. Throw them out. I don't want them reporting to Xi Jinping.
Just force them to sell the company.
Yeah, I mean, out. Goodbye. We let the Chinese infiltrate us too damn much, and Trump has got to just relentlessly throw them the hell out and get them out of our universities and get them out of our country, because they're trying to destroy us. And they have been. I worked a lot on Russian spies when I was in the Justice Department. Helped to create FISA, and a lot of that was for Russian spies. And the Russians were nowhere near as creative and as determined as the Chinese. Their infiltration of our government and our businesses and our universities and our unions and Hollywood. They own a third of Hollywood. You can't do an anti-Chinese movie.
They're underwriting.
Is this book here? This book here, which would make a great movie, I bet they don't make it a movie. Because it's about the homicidal tendencies of the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, they just love to kill people.
They disappear.
They have killed 100 million of their own people. 100,000, my God, 100 million of their own people.
Russia.
They call it population control.
Yeah, yeah. You know, Fauci once said during COVID, and that's when I knew he was a communist. Fauci said, the Chinese wouldn't have just deliberately done this. They don't want to kill their own people. And I was saying to myself, what are you, crazy? You little rat?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Brooklyn boy.
The Chinese didn't want to kill their own people. If you walk into Xi Jinping and say 5 million Chinese just died, he say, good.
Mm-hmm. Population control.
4 million less, yeah. Remember when they used to kill the girl babies?
Yeah.
That's like Herod, unbelievable. Well, we could go on all night, in which case
the Uyghurs,
you'd all fall. They're eliminating them. We could go on all night, and everybody but Joe and me would be asleep, like we used to do at the St. Regis.
Yeah.
After the over, we'd have a drink.
We'd have a good time.
Yeah,
that's right. We'd have a good time.
Well,
I always made sure you got home okay.
You did. Oh,
had a good detail.
I did. I had a great detail. Yeah, they all loved you too.
Patty.
Yeah, Patty. Jerry was fabulous.
He played basketball with him when he was a kid.
But Patty did the best rescue of me of anyone. So after I threw Arafat out of the UN, right? A couple of days later, maybe a day or two later, I was down, believe it or not, at the World Trade Center and going into from one building to another. And this cab driver, obviously named Mohammed, gets out. And he starts yelling at me, and he says, basically, I'm going to kill you or something. He starts running toward me. All of a sudden, the guy's down and handcuffed.
She was good. Patty was good.
I don't know if she played football. She tackled him.
Yeah.
I go crazy when I watch the cops having such difficulty, cuffing people.
It's very difficult to do that. Yeah.
Patty tackled him, turned him over. He's a little fat guy. Yeah. She turned him over, and boom, she put the handcuffs on him,
Yeah.
and the guy was so fat and he had little arms. They could hardly. I think she broke his arm.
Good.
I mean, she put it behind him, and it got it over. She got it over with like in seconds.
God, it was
I
amazing.
looked at all the big guys and I said, "See,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
oh,
Bo
oh,
is standing there looking
right.
at it, right? Yeah, and John Huvane.
Yeah, John Huvane.
They're big,
Tommy Wilson.
Oh yeah, Wilson. Wilson was a tough guy too.
Oh, he's a tough guy, man.
Oh yeah,
I want to get into a fight with him.
I had very good people.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
were
he is.
they were all real cops too.
Oh, yeah.
They all had backgrounds in different parts of but they were real cops. They
Yep.
weren't just
Mickey Mouse.
yeah. They all had great stories and great backgrounds. And I also had I loved Carrick as commissioner.
The best.
Carrick.
He made me an honorary commissioner. You know that, right?
Carrick, all of a sudden, I get a call like at 6 o'clock in the morning at Gracie Mansion. And it's one of my press secretary. And she says, your new police commissioner just made an arrest. I said, and she said, this is going to be very, very tough. The press is really going to go crazy. The police commissioner tackled somebody and arrested him. I said to her, Sonny, that's great. That's great that he made an arrest.
Yeah.
I mean, this would be fabulous for morale. And she said,
Bernie.
you're going to stop him from doing that. He sounds like a cowboy. I said, well, that's why I put him there.
He was great.
I needed somebody that would like revive. We had 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years of reduced crime.
Mhm.
I needed somebody who could continue it.
Jack Maples was big on that.
Oh, Jack Maples was great.
He was the
Great.
ninth,
He
he was
was
the
a-
operator.
Smart guy.
Great mind.
So we'll be back tomorrow, 7 with the Rudy Giuliani. So 8 with America's Mayor Live, which goes on forever. And but you don't.
America's Mayor After Dark.
And we'll see what happened. We never really got into describing in great detail the Jimmy Carter funeral.
Do a recap tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do a recap of his administration.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, God bless him and
Yeah.
may he rest in peace. And I did know him personally and liked him a lot personally.
Probably.
I just think he was a terrible president. And here's the one thing I really disagree with. I think he was a terrible ex-president too. Not helpful and in some ways disloyal. He'd undercut the American presidency. But in any event,
But very much like David Dinkins. David Dinkins was one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet as
Yeah.
a gentleman.
Yeah.
But he was, as a mayor,
I mean,
it was just terrible.
but the good thing for Carter was Obama and Biden. And the good thing for Dinkins was de Blasio.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly
Makes-
what happened.
make-
Exactly.
make-
It makes him
make
look
him
like a
look-
giant.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the truth.
Well, thank you very much. And God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve because we're able to reason, we're able to talk,